and welcome to a CGB podcast. It's me, it's CGB, and today I'm joined by Commander Baumi. So Baumi. Check out the channel. There will be a link in the description. This is a fellow YouTuber who played Dota for many years, and I got to know online and decided to have a conversation as he's now getting into Commander. So we had a really cool talk, and we just kind of dove right in. I just hit record in the middle somewhere and didn't even tell him. So we're going to come in hot and settle in. This is two people with the gift of gab and a lot to say about Magic the Gathering. So if you like the game, there's going to be a lot of fun. Dive in. Let the nonsense begin.
Well, so for me, I very much had that feeling. There was a long time where I did basically what you are doing, which is where I was just grinding matchmaking Dota. And I would record matchmaking Dota and I would play, and it was maddening because something that people don't see, I don't know how much of this you do, but I did it quite a lot, where if the game was shit, it doesn't make it into the video, right? If the game is really garbage.
Oh, God, yes. Oh God, yes.
And in Magic, I feel like that's not to diminish you, right? But like in Magic, okay, sure, whatever. You just move on to the next one, right? Concede, go to the next one. But in Dota, you're stuck for 45 minutes.
Holy cow. Okay.
Right? Because like you go in, you notice 10 minutes in, this isn't it, but you can't leave. If you leave, you get an abandon. If you get an abandon, you're going to be thrown into low priority. If you're on low priority, you can never get a recording. So I have to stick it out and I have to play 45 minutes. After the 45 minutes are done, I can try again. That was maddening, as like unbelievably maddening.
I can't even imagine that. Like that. So you're telling me in Magic Arena, this would be like if you concede before the game ends too many times, you don't get good matchups. Is that kind of how it works? Oh,
like in Dota, it's because it's a 5-player game. You can't leave. Like,
wow. If
you leave, then of course your team is playing 4 versus 5, and that sucks. But Dota is weird because it doesn't even have a concede function. You can't even give up. You have to play the game until it's over. And that means sometimes you're stuck in a game where your team is still trying to win, but it's over. You know it's over. It's not winnable. It's not been winnable for a while. But the enemies aren't able to finish because you're kind of hanging in there. You know what I mean? Like this kind of like slow, tedious death that you can't do anything about.
Yeah. I've done early access where we're not allowed to concede because we're making content, and I've been through some things there, so I have a little bit of understanding.
So and in Dota, if you also can't like stop trying, you can't throw, then you get reported, and you also get thrown into low priority. And low priority is basically like Dota jail, where all of the players that are griefing or going AFK or disconnecting, people that do that, they all get thrown into low priority. And if you are in low priority with and you can only play with other people in that space, good luck getting a video.
It sounds like its own like hell queue, like what we call in Magic is hell queue. Yeah, that's crazy. Holy!
It's just like a punishment. And if you get low priority, you basically get it for a certain number of games. You have to play 3 games of low priority, and then you're out of low priority again.
As a creator, this is what I'm hearing because I can relate a little. Yours sounds worse. This is what I'm hearing because this is how my day kind of goes. I get up in the morning. I look at the time I have to do a thing, and my wife is like, can you please be done by such and such? She's had a lot of health challenges in last year, so like I have to get her to her doctor's appointments and things like that. It's winter, so we have several inches of snow every freaking day. We're having the worst winter we've had in decades, so I have to get out there and shovel the driveway. I have all these other things I have to do, and I sit down. I have no idea how long it's going to take to make a video on any given day. And it sounds like your situation is similar, but even worse, where I go in with a deck, like I've got an idea, maybe I had a dream overnight, something sparked my imagination, and I go in and I try it, but I just lose like the first 6 games and I'm like, I have nothing to show anybody. There's nothing good about this. I can't share this. This is depressing. I'm losing to the same decks that everybody plays. It's not fun.
Yeah, you queue into mono red a couple of times. It's not fun.
Yep. And so you end up like, if the deck, sometimes the deck's just not good. Like you have an idea, you can't make it work. It's just not good. It's a very difficult format to make new decks in, or everybody would do it, right? Everybody would make a new deck if it were easy. So you got to scrap it. You start over. You try something different. If that doesn't pop off, maybe you have to scrap that, start over, try something different. Eventually, you go to the MTGO online account and look for decks that won recently. And sometimes even those aren't great and best of one. And you're just trying to get one deck that can piece together about 40 minutes of content that isn't just you being mana screwed or destroyed on turn 4. And then you can put it all together if you got like 40 minutes, and then you smile and you slap an intro on the shit and you send it away. But you have no idea how long that's going to take on a given day. No idea. Honey, I can't make it to the movies. Honey, I can't make it to your appointment. Honey, I don't know what's going on with my life. I'm sorry. And I'm angry. And that's, anyway, every day is like that.
No, I feel you so much. So like, the thing is, like, what you have, so I guess with my struggle was kind of that I was stuck in the games for a long time. You don't have that. But yours is worse in a different way, where at least in Dota, I just pick a new hero every game, right? Like, I don't have to come up with like a whole new thing from scratch. I can just play one of the 100 characters. They are already there for me. All I have to do is pick a new one, and I need to just kind of like figure that out somehow, right? And after a while, you just get good enough at the game that you can play any of them, right? So it's like kind of fine in that way. But I get that. I had some, and oh my God, there is some moments though where it's just wonderful. I have to say, sometimes you sit down, you record for 45 minutes, done.
And
weird, done today. So and I don't know if you're the same. And then what I do is I torture myself and I say, all right, let's do tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe I can have a day off if I get one more done. And then immediately it sucks again. And like, I think I probably had 3 days in 6 years where I sit down, record the one thing, it goes perfectly. I stand up, I leave the office, I shut the door, I lock it behind me, I go upstairs, and my wife's like, who are you? I'm like, I've had a good day. I don't know what to tell you. It was a good day. It's weird. How do I handle this? It's happened so rarely, I've kind of forgotten what it is. Because like you, I also think, okay, if I'm having such a good day, it's like I see it. I'm not a gambler, but when I go to Vegas, I see myself in the people who like win, and instead of walking away from the table are like, we're going to keep going. It's a hot table. I got to keep going. It's like, I'm having a good day. I've got to ride this. I can make another video. Just one more video.
I mean, at least you're not losing the previous video, right? Like that one is done at the very least.
Yes. At least that's in the bank. But I don't know how many times I've done that where I try to like recapture that, how smooth and great that went, only to be there for another 2 hours and make myself miserable. So, hey, you're done with that. You escaped. You escaped.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like, I guess I like sort of escaped a while ago. So like after a couple years of doing that, when I was still making Dota content, I basically pivoted to making a lot of content about custom games. And that was a lot easier because in custom games, I can leave. So I kind of minimized at least that problem. Because if I'm playing a custom game, I'm playing it with my community, and my community knows we're here to record a video, and everybody knows this game is, and then we can just get out of there. And in case you don't know what custom games, are you like modding basic? That's just what it is.
I know. So this is how stuck I am in Magic. I don't even know what modding is. Is modding like putting an equipment on to modify a creature and then attacking with it? Like that's what I guess. I don't know other games. Dota,
so Dota's cool modded, which means you can just you can use the Dota assets and existing code and modify it, and then upload your own small custom version of it and make your own small custom game. So there's all kinds of custom games. People have made tower defenses, card games, first-person shooters were made inside of Dota. And so what I ended up doing, which was kind of like, which eventually grew to be my niche, is I ended up making a lot of content about those kinds of games and people making all kinds of weird little games within Dota and then playing those a lot. And by playing those instead of regular matchmaking, I was kind of like freed from some of those matchmaking-based restrictions, which was nice.
Sounds like it helps with the recording. That's kind of what I have in Commander.
There's also more variety, yeah.
Yeah. Like, because in Commander, this was the thing that was torturing me, is a set would come out and it would have all these sweet cards, and none of them were good in Standard. And it just made me, like, every time it was like breaking my heart. As set design for Magic leaned towards Commander, every set became a Commander set. And Commander cards are sweet. They're awesome. But I can't play with them for content because I'm just one guy playing Magic Arena. And so literally got this like spark that I wanted to have Commander videos. And I wanted to do something awesome to the tune of like what Game Nights does. And just like got a studio together and started recording Commander videos. And it's expensive as hell, and it's hard, and it's a pain in the ass. And I don't recommend it to anybody out there if you like time or money, because you'll have none. But it lets me play all the cards I want to play in Commander, because things can actually work in Commander, because every Commander game is kind of its own adventure. And when you're designing your pod, when you're designing your Commander game with your friends, like you can kind of set their own brackets, if you will. We have the content bracket. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun to play things like that. And you emerged from the Dota world on a different channel, and you have a new channel. And I've watched a couple of your videos, including a recent one about brackets that I really want to talk to you about. But you are now a Commander player? You always were?
No, I pretty much, like, I'm okay. So wait, I'm not sure I caught it. Are we recording right now?
Oh yeah, the whole time.
Okay, all right. Sorry, we didn't really do a proper intro.
Heck no. Why would we do that? They can check the
okay, I'm just making sure, else we would be missing. I feel like okay, all right. So I kind of spend a lot of my life in the Dota hell, right? Where I was just kind of like locked in my room, recording all day, not really making new friends, not really doing anything. And then my wife, in the meantime, she is not from Germany. She's actually from New Zealand. And she moved here with me. And
it's a big move.
It was a big move.
Holy cow.
It wasn't all very easy, but we made it work. And I'm very glad that we did. But when she moved here, it took her a little while to figure out what she wants to do. And eventually she came to the conclusion that she wants to be a doctor. The thing is that to be a doctor, she basically had to start over her education from high school because her high school diploma wasn't accepted in Germany. So she wouldn't be able to go to a German university.
Wow. She likes challenge. She must like a challenge. Holy cow.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of her. Like, she went to, she first had to learn German. Then she went and got her Abitur, is what it's called, which is basically a high school diploma, but it's like high-level high school diploma, and got in. And as she got into medical school, when you get accepted into medical school, they just tell you where to go. You don't really get that much. I mean, you kind of have a choice. Like, they tell you, okay, these schools accepted you, but ultimately, most people are just told, this is a school that accepts you. If you want to go to medical school, you're just going to have to move there. And that's what happened to us. So we got accepted into the Gießen Medical School. Well, she, right? And that meant that we had to move quite a bit away from where we were previously, where my old friends and my family were. And that was kind of like my main social contact. So, you know, we moved here, and I kind of like thought to myself, I don't know, I just spent 10 years basically locked in my room. I legitimately got really bad at speaking German, if that makes sense. Like, I am a native German speaker, right? But I had spoken so little German and so much English that people genuinely thought I was a native English speaker because I just kind of never used German.
You just never went out and talked to people. Like,
exactly.
You were that shut in. That is crazy, dude. That's crazy.
So when we moved here, I told myself, I'm not gonna do that again. I need to find some way to get out of the house. This is not gonna be how it is for another 10 years, right? And on a whim, no reason why, just the first thing that popped into my mind. I just said, I wonder if they play Magic here. I didn't have any cards. I didn't have any decks. I had nothing. I knew the rules of the game because I had played some Standard on Arena before. And like all the way back in my childhood, I had played some Magic with the decks of my friends, but I never had any of my own. So I was familiar with the rules. But aside from that, I was just like, I like games. I am the kind of social person that enjoys kind of like a social environment. So I might as well. So I just looked it up, and it turns out there was a website, MTG Gießen. And I'm like, okay. So I contact them. There was an email. I'm like, hey, so what's going on with this? And like, yeah, once a week at this like restaurant, we have just like a bunch of tables.
Okay.
We just go and we play Commander.
Not even a game store, just hanging at a restaurant. Nice.
There is no game store.
Wow.
Or there was no game store. Now there is one. It's actually been kind of like blowing up recently here, this environment.
Good.
Or like this,
That's
in
awesome.
this area with Magic. But yeah, it's just like this restaurant where they once a week, they have some tables. And I was just like, whatever, I'll just go. I don't have any cards. I'm sure somebody will lend me a deck, right?
Just give it a shot.
I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
Just give it a shot.
Absolutely.
So I went. And I sat down at a table with some people that, I don't know how to say this nicely. They were your stereotypical Magic players.
Okay. The ones that you hear about on the internet? Yeah?
Yes, they were those.
Okay. So what are they playing? Are they playing Commander?
They're playing Commander.
Have you ever played Commander at this point?
At this point, no.
Okay. What happens?
So I sit down and I ask, hey, can I have, I'm new. Can I have a deck? Can I play with you guys? Like, and they're just like, sure. What do you want to play? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess when I played like Standard on Arena, I played these like kind of like mid-rangey tempo, like somewhat aggressive decks.
I'm sure they got one of those. Okay.
Right. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, okay. And they put Xenagos. Is that his name? The Gruul god that gives things haste and power.
The doubler? Yeah, Xenagos,
Yeah,
God of Revels.
Xenagos,
okay,
right.
Yep, good old tempo right there. Very nice.
And it's just like, somebody puts Xenagos in front of me. It's just like, just play that. And I play. And I play 3 games that evening. And it's not a very chatty environment. It's not very like active. It's just people playing cards, eating a little bit on the side, drinking a little bit on the side, nothing else. It wasn't super friendly or anything like that.
They're min-maxing instead of socializing, right? They're min-maxing for card value.
This was definitely, this restaurant to this day, and again, at this point, there's a bunch of other communities nearby that have different command environments. But that environment, that group of people, they are very notorious for playing high-powered decks that are all about winning. They will combo you to death on turn 4 after Vampiric tutoring up their combo pieces. That, like in nearly every deck they have played Mana Crypt. That's just the environment it was, right? And I play 3 games, and I think I win 2, maybe I win 3. The Xenagos deck was very good.
You're like, I got this. I know how to do this. Okay.
It wasn't that hard. I was just like, well, I'm going to play this. Oh, it's twice as strong. I guess I'll hit you in the face. So, I just kind of like play. And at the end of the day, I go home. And then my wife asks me, did you have fun? And I think about it. And I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know if I had fun.
It was a time. I had something. There was a game that was played.
Yeah, I went there to socialize, but I didn't really feel like I talked that much to people. Not because I didn't try. It's just, sometimes people aren't reciprocative. You know what I mean? They just like don't really respond in the way that you. So, she asked, do you want to go again? And I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of expensive. All of the decks seemed really powerful, like with a lot of really expensive cards. I don't really know how I can keep up. So I just kind of like say, I'll think about it. And I think about it. And a couple of days later, I notice something weird. Mm-hmm. My brain, and this is the only way I can describe it, my brain felt healthy. Like in a way that it hadn't in a long time. It wasn't that I had a great time playing Magic, but there was something about just going out of the house and talking to people and being in person with people that triggered something in my head and just kind of was like, this is good for you.
Yeah. Happy social brain chemicals.
Right. And
Yep.
I was just like, I had not experienced that in such a long time that I was like, this is so weird. But also, fuck, do I have to keep going?
Yeah. Yeah. The hardcore gamers don't know about that whole leaving the house brain chemicals thing. Like it gets lost in the shuffle. It's hard to quantify,
Right.
but it's so real. Yeah, Dan. It's so real. And you kept going?
And then I gave it a little bit. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'll just build myself a shitty deck because I don't really know what I'm doing. And then I just kind of kept going. And, over time, I kind of integrated. And at first, this may sound really weird, but at first I really kind of had to force myself to go.
Yeah.
But after a while, I kind of integrated with the community. I got to know people there. I made some really, really good friends that weren't that original table. Turns out the original table was just kind of like that group.
Oh yeah,
at the game store.
If you walk to a game store like situation, everybody out there, you need to know this. This is very critical information. If you just walk in and just like, you have to get so lucky if somebody just has a spare seat that you happen to walk into and it turns out to be the perfect pod for you, because usually that spare seat is in the pod people don't want to play in. If you just go in and take the first one to be like, hey, over here, there's a reason nobody else took that seat. And so you got to keep that in mind. And I've heard it said a few times that finding a play group is like dating. And I think that is so kind of true, that you want to kind of get a vibe for people and what works as you seek the friends that you're going to play with. I got lucky because I just got invited at the store. I got recognized for my YouTube channel at a store by one of the guys who worked there, just invited me over to his house to play Commander. And that was how I found some of my Commander friends. But even then, some people at the house I didn't vibe with quite the same way that I vibed with this one guy. And then he's on my, like, we make a Commander show together now. That's Ben, for those who watch the show. So like, I got pretty lucky in that sense. But every time I've tried to go to a store and just make it the magic happen, the magic, see what I did there? It doesn't quite, it doesn't usually just pop off. You've got to kind of work for it. You got to try out different play groups and styles. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just kind of like sat down, so basically like over time, I guess, I found my people. It's really how I can put it. And at this point today, I am so deeply integrated with my Magic community. It's actually like, I'm a tournament organizer. We now have our local, like, we now have a game store, and I am actually like friends with the owner. I helped him open the game store. I literally helped him set it up. I helped him clean out the old garbage that was in the store before it opened. I helped him paint and, fill everything in, all of that stuff.
That is so cool, dude.
I run Friday Night Magic at our game store, or like Commander Friday Night Magic. I came up with a whole gameplay system for it that isn't supposed to be competitive.
Okay, well done. That's a tough thing to crack. Like, can I ask? Like, you don't use brackets, do you? How do you keep it from getting too spiky? Like,
so what I did is, a bit of context, if you will allow me. There is a game store in a town, I don't know, 30-minute drive away. And that was kind of the only game store in our greater area until this one that opened up last November. It was only last November that it opened up. And I've gone there a couple of times because they run Friday Night Magic Commander. And occasionally I was like, I kind of want to play some more Commander this week. So yeah, let me just go there over there. And what they do is they basically run a little tournament format. They run free rounds. And in those free rounds, basically you sign up. Everybody that signs up adds a booster pack into the prize pool, and then you play your free rounds. And at the end, the player that has the most points, that is the best performing player, gets the most boosted, and it just kind of goes down from there, right? 4, 3, 2, 1, the usual stuff.
So I just heard that there's a prize, so I'm guessing that people go cold-blooded for those booster packs.
So the thing is that while there is a tournament, right, at the same time, the store tells you don't play competitive, which does not make any sense and does not work.
Nope.
Every single time I've been there, there's a bunch of people like me who are just like, I just want to play some casual Commander. And then there's always 2 or 3 people that just show up with CEDH decks or decks very close to CEDH.
Yep.
And the thing is, those are the players that at the end of the day walk out with all of the booster packs. So I don't know if I can really blame them, right? Like, I mean,
no, you can't, because there are people, the joy they find in the game is the competitive min-maxing. It's how they find the joy in the game. You can't stop that. You can't cut it off. You can't just tell them to be casual. You can't tell them to chill, and you can't make them do things differently, because they're within the rules of the game, doing the part of the game that they love. Like, for everybody who villainizes those folks, I understand that they can be frustrating sometimes, often, but it's also very much what they find enjoyable at this stage in their life. I was at that stage when I was younger. Like, there was nothing you could tell me that would make me not bring the best deck I could. Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I get what you're saying, and but the main problem that I see is just kind of bad incentives. If you give people a reward for winning, they will play to win. Mm-hmm. And if you tell people that we are playing casual, then some will listen to that and show up playing casual. And then if you put those 2 groups into the same pod, they will have a bad experience.
Yeah, as scary as saying something as CDH is, when you have a prize structure that rewards being first, you might as well call it CDH.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so, but even that I could accept. The worst thing that store did, though, is they ranked you, like, to determine the points of like who won the games. They ranked you according to which order you were knocked out. Now, of course, we all know that the best way to win a Commander game is through a combo that kills all players at the same time, right? So how do you determine that? How do you determine who gets the highest placements, the most points, if all players get knocked out at the same time?
Highest life total, obviously. Highest life total, 100%.
Nope.
Turn order?
No.
Permanents on the battlefield?
No.
Cards on the library?
No. That all makes too much sense. That would have been nice, but I don't think that's... No, they make you roll a die. You just roll for it.
Oh my God.
So basically, the reason why I'm telling you this is, like, it was very frustrating. Like, one time I went there and I got second overall. That's because I won my first round, and then because they do a Swiss structure, I got thrown into the pot with the people that won the first round. There was then your usual CEDH player for the night who stomped the next game, like won in like 3 turns or whatever. Then we all rolled for who got the highest placements. I won the dice roll, so I got a second in that game. That, of course, then meant that I had to play against the CEDH player again because of the Swiss system, and then I won the dice roll yet again. So I got second in the tournament. That really felt earned and deserved.
I have literally been in situations where, like, that kind of structure was there, where the winners of the pods go on to play the next pod, and I won like my game, and it was like, no, I'm just giving it to somebody else. Somebody else go. I don't want to go. I don't want to play that pod. Please no. Yeah. Like, that's where I am in Commander. I just don't want to play those games anymore. I think there's something fun like my brain, my internal magic chemicals at this point for playing paper Magic tell me there's something wrong with playing a game where the shuffling and mulligans take longer than the game. I hate
that so much. That's why I stopped going to the restaurant eventually, because I'm so tired of getting comboed on turn 4. Like, this is not fun to me. Anyways, to go back to the Friday Night Magic thing, this is the context that I had. And I was just like, okay, I want to avoid all of this. This is horrible, right? This sucks. So I was given an opportunity, basically, because, again, I knew the store owner of the store that just opened up. I knew him before he opened up the store. I helped him set up the store. And I was like, can I please come up with a system for Friday Night Magic? Let me come up with something that will make this nice and casual and relaxed. We will have good incentives that make it easy for everybody to participate. And he was like, go nuts. Like he just let me do whatever I wanted to. So here's what I came up with. We basically have a little, first of all, we only do 2 rounds. The other store does 3 rounds, which takes forever. 2 rounds is fine for Friday Night Magic for Commander, because that's a total of 3 to 4 hours of playtime, which is enough for the store to close at a reasonable time and for everybody to get home before it goes too long. And also we don't have to start too early. We can start at like 6:30 and that's fine, right? So if we start at 6:30, we're done at like 10. Perfect.
Yep.
Then what I do is I've come up with this fairly complex system where basically I have a huge list of these quests. And what I do is I print out these little, wait, do I have any?
He's got an achievement system. You've got an achievement system for MTG paper.
I don't know if you have any, if you will do any of the editing for this kind of stuff. Maybe calling you out a little bit here. But I'm going to put an example here in the Discord chat because I've got it all digital. So this is kind of what it looks like. So you get this little piece of paper that has 6 quests on them. And these quests, they are not like quests along the lines of like win the game. Instead, they are stuff like block a creature with 2 or more creatures, or control a creature with more than 1 head. Or if you have a deck that's exactly 4 colors, play it. It's this kind of like lighthearted stuff that's just supposed to make the game, like give you a little bit of structure when you're in the game and give you a little bit of an incentive to do maybe some stuff that isn't super serious. But the important thing about this is that at the end of the night, basically the way it works to play in our Friday Night Magic, you have to buy 2 booster packs. First of all, you get 1 booster pack, just that you buy that for yourself. The second booster pack you buy goes into the prize pool. And the prize pool at the end of the night is given out via a raffle. So I just do a raffle at the end of the night, and every quest that you complete up to 5 adds your name into the raffle once, with you getting 2 entries already by default. What that does is it makes it so that players are playing to complete these quests. And these quests are designed to be non-intrusive. And what that does is it creates incentives for games to last. Mm-hmm. If the game is over too quickly, you don't get to complete your quests. So you want to play a casual game that takes a little while, and then that you have time to actually complete your quests. The quests also give you incentives to interact with other players, because sometimes you need the help from your opponents to complete a quest. Not because the quest says this, but just, sometimes that's just kind of like how it works out. You might need a little bit of assistance to really make it happen. The thing is, the quests are also not mandatory. You can win the raffle at the end of the night. You can win additional booster packs, and you can only win up to 2. So it's not like you can cash out with a huge number. But you can win some booster packs at the end of the night, even if you complete 0 quests. Okay. It's just that your chance is a little bit lower then. I think your chance by completing 5 goes up to 75% to win an additional booster pack, assuming we have, I think, 20 players. I did the math a little while ago. And if you didn't complete any, you have around a 48% chance to win something. So you can still win something if you don't complete anything, but by completing the quests, you have a higher chance of winning something. And that way you just kind of have this incentive of like taking a more casual, relaxed approach to the night. On top of that, what I do is I structure players, like I tell people where they are supposed to play. I pre-prepare the pots for them, which means I tell everybody, okay, game 1, this is where you play. And then for game 2, I shuffle the pots with the goal of the shuffling. It's called the Golfer problem, in case anybody's curious. But basically the goal of the shuffling is to make it so that no player plays another player twice.
So shuffling implies like random, but it's not, right?
It's not fully random.
You are the master of making pods that are hopefully had no overlap and maybe put similar like kind of matchmaking personalities or deck types.
No, that's not something that is even necessary. Like, we have not actually had significant, even people that. So I know people that are very competitive that have shown up to our Friday Night Magic and they brought their most casual, relaxed decks. Because they know, again, if the games are over too quickly, then they can't win anything. Because they won't be able to complete their quests.
I'm surprised, though, they don't try to win anyway. But I suppose that's part of playing like the game. The game does still have a winner. It has to end at some point.
Yes.
So I guess people find that balance in their own play style.
People do still play
pod.
to win. It's not that they don't try to win. It's just that it's not the priority anymore, right? Like The idea of the quest system was to shift the incentives away from making winning the main rewarding piece and instead making it towards playing. Now you're mostly rewarded for playing the game. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily need to stall it out, because I also tell people we will run 90 minutes for the first round. Afterwards, if you're not done, you have to, like, I will cancel your match. You just have to settle on a draw at that point, which means people do also just kind of play to be able to like finish up their match.
Okay. Yeah, still got to play around draws. Like, it's a balance, but it sounds like you're very hands-on with kind of making sure that the incentives are where they need to be, that people can just play some games and have a good time.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind if I knew about these quests when I was younger, I would have just never even gone, because I don't even want to learn what these are. I just want to play to win. But where I'm at now, I would probably not even, I would just grab the deck I most wanted to play, not necessarily thinking about like power level or how will it hold up here and there. It's just the new thing I kind of built that I want to try.
Maybe something I should mention here, because I feel like it's really important to kind of like have context for these quests. So the quests are designed in such a way that I expect you to be able to complete all of them.
Okay.
Like, they are not meant to be overly difficult. They are laid out in such a way that across 2 games, you should be able to complete most, if not all of them. That is my goal. That's also why I don't worry about cheaters, because I just assume that everybody will complete all of them anyways.
Sure. Gotcha. So everybody does usually get prizes like related to the quests because they're completable.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, it kind of comes down to the raffle if you get lucky or not. But one other nice thing about having the raffle at the end of the night is that it makes it so there's a nice end point. Like, there's kind of this nice ceremonial get together where, okay, guys, everybody, we're done. Finish up your games, pack up. And then before everybody leaves, they kind of like come to the front and I raffle off all of the booster packs that we have. And then I can say, okay, thank you very much for coming. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you next week. And that seems like it's not a big deal, but I think it really makes it feel like it's just this nice rounded package that concludes in a way that feels satisfying. Oh yeah. So it's been incredibly successful. Like, Friday Night Magic at the game store right now is like, it's by far its most successful event. We run it every week. We have people running in the door for it. It is easily outperforming the old game store that was a bit away. Just in terms of player numbers, frequency, like everything. It's just like, it's crazy. There's so many people that are showing up. It's actually become like, it's a problem.
It's a problem, too many people. I was going to ask, like, I usually don't just tell people to plug, but if you want to mention it, but you might get more people. I don't know.
I mean, if you guys want to come, it's Deck, Dice, and Dungeons in Gießen. That's what it's called. It's a small store. Well, I don't know. It's not that small, actually. It's a weird store.
It's going to get big at this pace.
It's got a weird layout because it used to be a drugstore. Wait, no, not a drugstore. What was it to be? Like a perfume store.
Perfume store? It used to be a perfume store. That must help with the smell. Magic player
no,
joke.
No, it was really bad. It smelled really bad in here before we came in. It's actually better now. Well, that was mostly because it was.
Yeah, I gotta even it out. You know, we got a battle. It's the true war. It's the two sets coming together.
The old perfume still lingering versus the musk of the magic community.
The magic musk. Yes. You put them together, maybe it comes out normal. It sounds good. Oh goodness. Man. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've done a lot for that store. That's really excellent. And this is your Friday night. Like, this is what you do. Like, you go down there and make good times for Commander players. That's awesome.
It's also like, it's kind of like a bit of a give and take. The nice thing about the situations as well, like, while I help him with that, right? In turn, he lets me use the store to run Commander budget tournaments, where like every other month I run a tournament for Commander, which is CEDH, but your deck may only cost 50 euros.
Yeah. And it is budget Commander.
Those tournaments are so much fun. They are so sick. But the problem is, of course, I need a space to run them in. And usually that would cost a good amount of money. But because I can just do it at the game store, I don't have to pay anything for it.
That sounds glorious. Yeah, that's how I got my show kind of started, was I was doing it at the game store. So I was, they were letting me like film in there, which was helping a lot with the cost until it had to close. It was very sad. But now I kept the space for filming. So now it's just a studio. Oh, that used to be the game store.
You have that same space.
Yeah, I took over the lease on the space, and now.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's kind of neat.
Thank you for all the sponsorships and the people who click on the sponsorships and the people who use my referral code and my promo code CGB5 at coolstuffing.com and Dragon Shield, because it helps me pay for the space, and I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you. Bye. No, we can continue.
Very cool.
There's something about a good game store that like it becomes more than just a place, right? It's actually really essential to a good like community to have a place that you can go to play with your friends that feels like the right place for you. And I really loved that about Lantern Games, and definitely want to see that in Traverse City, Michigan, where I live again. But I still get to play with my friends at the studio like every week because we do the show. So it's kind of keeping the tradition alive. Like we all used to meet at the store and do it. So I want to talk about so let's first say this. I want to talk about the bracket thing and whether or not you'll use it in any of this, because that's supposed to be, in a way, that's one of the things that brackets are supposed to do, right? Is help people who go to stores who don't know the people there get into the games that they want to be in, that they can feel like they are a part of. And you have, since stepping back from the Dota channel, you've started, is it starting a new channel? Do I have that right? Or did you start a brand new Commander channel?
Oh, yeah, that's a completely new channel.
Yeah. Okay, so that one did start recently. And you've made some videos about Commander. You've been doing that on the regular since then. And I just watched the one about brackets that you recorded. I watched that last night. And you have some opinions. You have some opinions on this.
I always have opinions.
Yeah. So why don't let me spell it out for him. Like, where do we jump off? I am curious if you'll use it in any of your Friday night adventures. What do you think of this new bracket system for Commander? Like,
so I think it's actually really cool that we like kind of go into this from talking about the F&M stuff. Because I've seen a lot of people online, like a lot of content creators, not calling out anybody in specific, but I've seen a lot of content creators basically say that, well, this doesn't really apply to us because we mostly play within our insulated community. But this very much applies to me. This super applies to me. If I had a working bracket system, that would be so sick for the Friday Night Magic stuff that we do. That would be incredible. And so I am actually very, very open to the possibility of having this kind of system because I think it would be very helpful. Now, that being said, I think the way this bracket system is currently laid out, there's mostly just kind of... The main issues that I see is, first of all, I feel like too much of the bracket system places emphasis on... Okay, wait, let me start that over. So basically, the way I look at it right now is that I feel like the bracket system assumes that precons are a larger portion of mine and a lot of players' game experience than what I actually observe and experience in real life. Which is, there's this big bracket 2 that exists right now. Now, let me just go through the brackets really quick. I'm going to go ahead and immediately dismiss brackets 1 and 5. And that's not because I don't think they are valid. I actually think they are fine to have. It's just there's not much to be said about them. Bracket 1 is just a bracket. If you want to play, I don't know, what's the example people always use? Ladies looking left, right?
Sure, ladies looking left.
If you want to play ladies looking left,
men without shirts.
Play ladies looking left.
Yes, I've seen a lot of these. Yeah, every single card has the Sansep Citadel, the Duel of the Fates like cadence.
I actually have a bracket 1 deck, which is my deck called like a deck full of games, which is a deck full of these like mini game cards, and it doesn't win. It doesn't have a way to win, really.
Sure, yeah.
But the thing is, like, it's just the thing. If you played bracket 1, if you play in that kind of exhibition bracket, you know that you're playing there. You don't need me to spell that out for you.
Yeah, you don't need much experience to basically know who you are and know what you're looking for if you're a bracket 1er. Yep.
The same is true for CEDH. If you're playing CEDH, you know you're playing CEDH. That's really it. There's not much else that needs to be said about that. That leaves us with 3 brackets remaining. And I think 3 brackets is a very tight quantity of brackets. So let me actually start with bracket 4 then. So we have optimized, because I think that one is also the least controversial. Although I do have to say, I really do not like the use of the word optimized within the bracket system right now. I think optimized is a very poor choice of word.
What would you use?
I'm not sure, like something like powerful, maybe strong, effective, something along those lines. The thing is that optimized is, let me maybe just start out by saying this. I firmly believe that a lot of Commander players are optimizing their decks to the greatest extent that they are capable of. It's just that they are not necessarily optimizing them for power.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing a deck, for example, I have a Kiora, the Rising Tide deck, which is a mono blue reanimator deck. It's a deck that's all about playing out of the graveyard, reanimating creatures out of the graveyard. It's supposed to kind of feel like a black deck, and it does, but it is mono blue. It is very limited in the kind of cards it can play, because there's not that many cards that actually fit into that kind of style of gameplay, fit into that kind of experience. And the thing is, that deck is really optimized for its theme, for its idea. I can't really do much there to make it fit into that theme better. Now, that doesn't mean I can't make it stronger. If I wanted to make it stronger, I could put a heuristic study into it. But the thing is, the hell does a heuristic study have to do with my theme? Nothing. It's just a good card. So this is a deck that I think is very highly optimized. It is very optimized for its theme, but that doesn't mean that it's super powerful.
Yes.
And that is something that I feel like gets lost in this graphic right now, in part because they're using that word optimized, because that implies that the optimization for decks is always centered around power, while in reality, many players are not building Commander decks around power.
Yeah, so it's a hang up on the word, but that makes sense because a lot of what people love about Magic is optimizing. It's just that, like you said, it's not always around. So just because, like, honestly, all the decks could be said they're optimized. A women looking left deck is optimized. It is the optimal max amount of women looking left, and a mana base that can cast them.
Can I just really quickly, because before that gets lost, you just said that that's kind of a hang up on the word, but this is a communication tool.
Yes, that's why it's
hung
important.
Up on the words is actually relevant here. This is not just a matter of me being picky. The words matter in a communication tool.
No, you're right. I definitely agree with that, and I can see where it's coming from. If we could take a little smudge and write over that. Maybe there's a right word. I mean, I think they would have called this high power before, right?
I would not have a problem with that phrasing.
They would have called this 9s, 8s and 9s, below CEDH in the old scale. Yeah. So if we cross out optimize because we want that word to apply as Commander players to a number of things, because we do very much. Like, that's the right word for what we are doing when we're making our decks as effective as we can at the thing we want them to be good at. So we're gonna fix brackets right now. We're gonna cross out optimize. We're gonna say high power. Yeah, there, boom, did it. Okay, what else? What do you? Okay, I have a thing about high power, not optimize. High power. The big question I've had to answer ever since these were revealed. What's the difference between that and CEDH? And I know that Gavin's article goes into it, but it doesn't, it's not an easy thing to convey to somebody who hasn't played CEDH before or doesn't understand tournament Magic. That is a struggle for me.
So I think that there's actually like a pretty, I kind of used an example in my video that I think describes it, which is basically if you're playing in high power and you're playing a ninja deck, you're going to build the strongest ninja deck you can. What that means is you're going to pick Oracle. You're going to pick all of the best ninjas. You're going to put in some extra turns. You're going to pick the cards that work well within those extra turns. And when you're smacking people with Oracle, you're going to flip 15 damage and kill everybody. Right. But you're probably not playing Thassa's Oracle. Because that's not a ninja. That's got nothing to do with your deck. Once you go into CEDH, you're no longer playing a ninja deck. You're now playing a Oracle deck. Which means you're playing Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation, because that will optimize you for winning. To me, every single style of Commander at every level has a theme. And that's kind of like an interesting thing, where I actually feel like Commander is this circle in a way. Exhibition is where you're fully committed to your theme, but your theme is something like Ladies Looking Left. And CEDH is where you're also fully committed to your theme. It's just that your theme is winning.
Yeah, it's the whole theme. If it makes you more likely to win every spot, you have to find what makes you the most likely to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing as well that I feel like is a factor worth keeping in mind here, and this probably doesn't apply to everybody, but I would say that it applies to the vast, vast majority of people, is if you're playing CEDH, you don't care about having the cards, about physically owning the cards. If you are playing high power, you probably actually own real copies of your deck. CEDH decks are often multiple thousands of euros to buy, while an optimized, a high power deck is what, like $250? Like, that's of course still expensive, but you can actually own that. Okay, of course, it could still be more. Maybe it's 500. Sure, I'll give you even 1,000, but you're not going to put in a time twister just because it's optimal. Oh, are you? Sorry.
I might. I mean, those of us who have somehow come across a time twister, maybe. And I don't know. Like, so I agree for the most part on the budget thing. I do. I think that people are more likely when going all the way up to bracket 4 to use cards they own, because it becomes a form of self-expression for them. And it's not that Commander isn't proxy friendly. It's that, like, people do take pride in, like, a certain ownership pride in their decks, which is, like, people want to make it about, like, hating on proxies or anything. No, it's just how much people get into their decks. And it's almost, I compare it to, like, renting versus owning a home. Like, people take a lot of pride in owning a home, even it's an extension of themselves, right? It's very deep. No, not yet. Well, so it can happen someday.
I live in Germany, my guy.
Dude,
I will never own a home.
Oh my gosh! I mean, hold on. You never know. Yeah, but that is something that is so, like, ingrained in American culture in a lot of ways, that, like, home ownership is like taken very seriously. So, there are people who take that kind of pride in owning their deck, and I think that when you get into CDH and you're min-maxing every spot, and you have reserve list cards that are worth thousands of dollars, it is proxy friendly, because, as I've heard it said on the CDH channels, they want it to be about beating the player, your skill as a player, not beating your wallet. And I admire that. I like that. But in the idea of high power optimized, since you're not necessarily trying to win, since you're trying to go all in on a theme, I think there's a different pride taken in ownership there. So I agree with you. I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, this last point is, of course, a bit more difficult to quantify, right? So, I mean, I know some players that have CDH decks where they own every card in it.
Yes.
But again, like, most people who play CDH, that probably doesn't apply to. This is more of, like, you know, this loose quantifier, but I still feel like it's somewhat relevant to keep that in mind. Okay, let's move on with our brackets. Now I'm going to circle back around to core, right? And core is about playing at a pre-con level. Now, I kind of see two problems here. The first one is, what does that mean? Like, pre-con level is actually kind of difficult to quantify. I don't know if you played the jump scare pre-con that came out with Duskmorn. It's
which one, though? Is it Simone?
The Simic one.
Yes.
Simone, yes.
I still have the pre-con ready to go, and I have an upgraded one ready to go, because that thing busted.
Yes, that precon is insane. Like, that deck is genuinely absurdly powerful. It's okay. It's not. I don't want to. Maybe I'm overstating it a little bit. Point being, it is much more powerful than your average precon.
The video we played, the very first video we played with all the precons together, it went infinite. We kind of blew our mind. Yeah, it was very strong.
That is a precon that just has an infinite in it, and it's not even a bad infinite. Like, it's a decent value infinite, and that deck is incredible. It is so powerful. At the same time, in that same set of decks, you have the Animatu deck, which is not functional.
My girl, don't just dunk on Aminatu. It's Esper. It's my colors. It's miracles. Miracles are great. People love miracles. Don't be mean to my girl. Don't be mean to my girl.
Have you ever flipped something useful with that deck? That took too long. That answer took too long.
I think I made a Shark Typhoon once that I could have just cast.
Yeah.
It was so
See
bad.
What I mean, right?
Dude, it's so bad. It's true. Oh, I love that deck too, but it's so bad.
And I feel like, so that's a bit of a problem, right? Like, I feel like wizards themselves are not great at actually judging the pre-con power levels because, and maybe this is a wrong assumption from my end, but I always assume that a set of pre-cons that gets released at the same time, they are supposed to kind of be played against each other and they are supposed to be somewhat the same power level.
Regardless of whether or not you are right about that, or regardless of whether or not that's how they test, that is what enough content creators are going to do that you would, if you are wizards trying to sell a product, you do want to optimize for exactly that environment.
And they don't succeed at it. They just don't.
Not in the case of Aminatu, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but this is not the first time this has happened. I would say that every pre-con cycle that I have experienced, admittedly, that's not been super long. I've only been playing for 2 years. But every pre-con cycle that I've experienced has kind of had that standout deck a little bit. And of course, there's always going to be something that is strongest, but I just think if Wizards is incapable of properly quantifying the pre-con power level by making it so that the pre-cons they release aren't properly matched against each other, then how's the player base supposed to make that evaluation? I think that's just kind of difficult. Mm-hmm. Now, at the same time, I will concede here that I feel like if I say pre-con power level, we kind of get the vibe.
I think it's understood, but you could also just say it's a 7. So it hasn't changed anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they use metrics. Like I have seen people ask for metrics, and I've seen kind of like metrics expressed where they say like, oh, you're supposed to end the game after this number of turns, but that also doesn't really mean anything, does it?
No.
Like I don't actually think that's a good metric whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a turn 1 Soul Ring and all these decks that can increase that number of turns by 2, which is a long time in Commander Land. So like, yeah, every deck has power spikes. Here's my thing with 2. And again, we're going to nitpick language because it's a communication tool. We're on the same page with this, yes?
Yeah.
Just take the word pre-con out. Why? It centers the whole conversation around the pre-con decks.
Yes.
And I know they're a company. Of course they want to sell the pre-cons. That makes sense. I honestly don't think that's the intention here, but it inadvertently looks like it when you focus so much on pre-con as a communication tool. Yes, we understand what it is. It's a deck bought off the shelf, but they're very different. There is a wide range of them. They function in very different ways. I don't think if you build a women looking left deck or a deck with all the wombats of Magic history or whatever, I think you should be okay with somebody playing with a pre-con off the shelf, even if that pre-con is more likely to win, because it's not about winning in the first place. It's about getting to play a game together. I think that if you call it a pre-con, if you call pre-con a power level, how are we supposed to accept that that's going to stay flat over the years? You know, I opened a few old pre-cons recently. I opened the original Kalia pre-con, the original Marath pre-con. It's like the worst deck I have ever seen in my life. It's like Beast Typal with one of the most busted commanders you could ever have that does nothing in the deck with any of the other cards in it. And then you compare that to the Zimone deck we just talked about. And it's like these things are not the same. And I don't expect next year's decks to be the same as last year's decks. They shouldn't expect that. I mean, just try looking at the Modern Horizon sets and tell me those are the same. So I am going to say if they remove the word pre-con from the bracket, that would be a good thing because pre-con sets a certain expectation. We all know what it is, but then when you dive into it, it doesn't mean what we don't all agree on what it means as much as people think we do, right? Like so if Core didn't say pre-con, wouldn't it be a better bracket? Wouldn't you be more like interested in playing it just on the surface? Because a lot of us know what playing pre-cons is, and we don't want to pub stomp pre-cons. We're trained not to do that. You're not supposed to do that with your well-built deck against a pre-con. We don't want to be that guy. That is not our intention. So we think we can't play bracket 2, right?
So I super agree with this. So this kind of brings me to the second point I was going to say about bracket 2, which is something I tackled a little bit early on, where I feel like bracket 2 is trying to center so much of our Commander experience around precons, which for me personally just does not apply. And I think from my experience with kind of just people around me, and as I feel like I expressed, I play with a lot of new people all the time does not apply to them either. I think most of the commander experience is centered around decks that you build.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like a precon you bought off the shelf, but a deck that you're building yourself. Even after a while, the precon will become your own, right? That's the whole point of them, is that you upgrade them and change them until they are your deck. And the thing is that currently, one of the problems is with centering the conversation around precons at power level 2 or at bracket 2, is that my decks hit on precons. Like, I destroy precons, and I don't want to do that.
Nope, we don't want to be that guy.
That's not fun. That's not fun for me. That's not fun for them. But also, I don't want to play precons. I like building my own decks. It's not even about whether or not the precons are too weak. I don't mind building a weak deck. In fact, I do have a deck that I specifically built to be played against precons. It's not good. But the thing is, I don't want to play precons because I like playing my own decks. That's just kind of like the whole point, right?
Yeah.
And so I think bracket 2 would be very, very much improved by removing the language of precon, because I do think that that is just kind of like really difficult to define. And as you said, it's just, man, it's not really what I'm looking for, I guess.
Yeah, it puts an expectation on the game that we understand what it is. So that's a good thing for communication. But for a lot of us, it's not what, like, it puts kind of a stop sign, don't go here, on bracket 2. And I don't actually think that. I think, honestly, if you remove the word precon from the bracket, I would look at bracket 2 and say, yeah, I'm going to do a lot of that.
Yeah, that's my home. Right? That's where I hang out.
Yep. But now, exactly.
Right now, I look at bracket 2 and I'm like, oh, I can't play there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's in the names, right? It's the core, you know, like upgraded. Upgraded has a certain sense of like, okay, well, that's somebody who takes time and works on their deck, right? And well, that's me. But then you read upgraded and you're like, wait, now we're doing infinite combos. Now we're doing, we're doing tutors and infinite combos. We're tutoring
the infinite combos.
We're doing game changers, which is a whole thing we haven't touched yet. Yeah.
Yes, I was actually going to go there. Let me talk about the game changers for one moment.
Let's do it.
So I really like game changers. I think, let me start out by saying this. I don't think the list as it exists is perfect. I feel like there's some cards missing, some cards that probably shouldn't be on there. Personally, I don't think Opposition Agent should be on the game changer list. I honestly don't know what that guy did to end up there.
Oh, I can tell you. I have opinions on Opposition Agent. I played a nice, friendly
from what
deck.
I can tell, all Opposition Agent does is hate out tutors, which I think is good. Give me more Oppo agents.
But my big Opposition Agent thing when our show was still kind of finding its footing is I played the commander. She's a planeswalker who can be your commander. She's Dimir, and she minuses 3 to go get a dragon. So I was like, Dimir Dragons, that sounds sweet, dude.
Okay,
that sounds so sweet. You already know where this is going. And it was the newest player in our group, Shay, who who did it, just going off like recommendations, reading websites, and has Opposition Agent in this deck. Is like, oh, you go to activate your commander. I was going to go search for Ancient Silver Dragon because I wanted to cast the dumb 8-drop that can draw me a ton of cards, right? And this is me being casual. And she like responds with Opposition Agent. I've never felt so bad.
Yeah,
have never. My inner Timmy died. You can see it you can see the light leave my eyes. This is on the internet. You can find the game. My inner Timmy was shot and killed that day. So Opposition Agent can fuck off. I don't care. But go on.
Okay, so like I get what you're saying there, and like I get that that's a frustrating experience, but it's worth keeping in mind that you could have gotten stifled and it would have done the same thing.
No, I could have activated again later. Fine, you're right.
Okay. All right, I was right.
Mad.
Okay, so sorry.
Still would have been a salty gamer.
You still would have been upset about the stifle.
Yeah.
Look, my point. Okay, look, but this is kind of going into the wrong direction. Even if you listen to me and you hear me say, "Oh, Oppo Agent shouldn't be on there," and you're like, "Baumi, you're an idiot. Oppo Agent is the best card in the game. It should be on there." Okay. Like, I'm actually totally fine with that. I do not really care that much which cards are on the Game Changer list, because I look at the Game Changer list as it exists right now, and I think to myself, this is close enough. Like, it's not perfect. Again,
sure.
There are some cards that I think should probably be on there. There are some cards that I feel like shouldn't be on there. Like, I'm not even going to say an example anymore. Screw that. That's going into the wrong direction.
Yeah, nitpicking the list is fun. It's fine. It's totally fine to nitpick the list if that's what you got to do.
Okay, want to nitpick a little bit? Okay, let's do. Come on, 2 cards. Two cards each. Which cards do you think should be on there? And I'm gonna say, I'll give you a moment. So my 2 cards that I feel like should be on there is, I think, first of all, Mana Drain. It's mostly just because I think Mana Drain is a huge swing. It is so brutal. If you hit anything that's like even like 3 or 4 Mana Drain is absurdly effective. And I also just like, it's an upgrade, a pure upgrade over Counterspell. And Counterspell is already really good. So like, I feel like it's a card that's just kind of like pushing it a little bit. And then I'm gonna say something that will make Trinket Mage happy, but I feel like we're missing green cards. So I'm fine with putting Last March of the Ents on there.
Okay. Yeah. Game
like,
wrecker.
Last March of the Ents is a card that just ends the game when it's cast.
Yeah.
And you can't really interact with it that much. Like a little bit, I guess. You can kill the creatures, but that's difficult at instant speed if there's more than one. And you can't counter it. And it's just a card that you can't really do much about it. And I find that personally a bit frustrating. So if I were to put one green card on the list, it would probably be Last March of the Ents.
Yeah, that's a card. God, I would have never thought of that card. But it's in this vein, like, because these cards kind of go together. Itali Primal Conquer, I just don't think you can make a proper casual build of. I think that no matter where, and honestly, if we are just kind of building to build good decks, it's both a Timmy card, so it has that appeal to casual players, but you just want to put it in all your red green decks because the card just breaks the game. Like sometimes it's absolutely insane. There's no way to build a version of it that doesn't just destroy the world and just destroy a table. I've tried a nice casual dino themed version. Doesn't matter. I think it's just way too strong for the lower brackets by a mile.
One problem with Itali as well is when people see you play Itali, they get out their strong decks, which just makes Itali better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a anti-parasitic. I don't know. It's a bizarre card, but I think it could go. I think it could be on the list just to keep people in the lower brackets from making the mistake of thinking it will be fine, if that makes sense. Yeah. And God, I had the other one. Yeah, Corvold. Corvold is the most pub stomping commander I have witnessed personally. If I go to a table at a Magicon or at a game store, and there is one person taking 1 billion game actions and the other people looking depressed as hell, and it was supposed to be a casual game, 90% of the time, in my personal experience, I already know what they're playing. Assume you approach from over their shoulder, so you can't see their board. You just see how everybody else looks. I can tell a Corvold table. I know a Corvold turn just from as I'm approaching without even seeing the board state. That card is another one that I think, cool dragon, lots of synergy. People get excited. It would be nice to have it on the list as a guardrail of don't do this. Please don't do this in lower brackets.
It's one of those cards that's never been used for anything honest.
Yes.
It's kind of similar to Tibet in that way, where every time I see Tibet, I'm like, oh, this is going to be some nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Somebody showed me their voting deck with Tivit. Thought that would be fine.
No, it wasn't fine. Deck. It's not a voting deck.
Wasn't fine at all. So, yeah.
It's actually like a problem with those, kind of a little sidetrack, but I personally don't like building these super powerful commanders because I think they take over the deck too much. I find that kind of boring. Like if I try to build a Tivit deck, it's never going to end up as anything other than a Tivit deck. It will just be a Tivit deck. It will never be a voting deck or a politics deck or anything else. It will just be Tivit. Because it's just so strong. If you try to build a Yawgmoth deck, you cannot insert any theme. It will just be a Yawgmoth deck because he's just that powerful. Yep. And so I always try to build kind of like worst commanders. I mean, like 2 of my permanent decks. Wait, so I've got Genku as one of my permanent decks, which is Genku is terrible. You don't even need to look it up.
Come on. It's a
4 mana Azorius 2/5.
I know this one.
Oh yeah, when a permanent leaves, you make 1 of 3 tokens, and for 5 mana can activate to give counters. Yeah, but it's really shit blink.
It's really bad blink that makes like weird creature types. Yes.
Yeah, and then the Kiora deck I talked about. Like Kiora is not that good as a commander because she's not designed to be a commander. She's just like meant for standard. And I'm not sure, but she's okay in standard, right? Like she's pretty good there from what I hear.
You can win a game or two with a Q-Art in your deck. She's not going to cost you as many games as almost every 4-mana card in the format, so it's fine.
A Q-Art's 3 mana.
Exactly. That's why you can get away with it. Yeah.
All right. Oh, by the way, I do have to insert one additional card I would like to add to the Game Changer list. Soul Ring.
Yeah. Oh, you're trying to open a can of worms. I was ready to move on. I was ready to get back. Now you're going to do that. You're going to drop a content nuke in the middle of this video. Of course. Dude, of course it should be on the Game Changer list. Of course it should.
It is a Game Changer.
But then you have to change the whole list to be like you get one Game Changer in every bracket.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think
people will take out their Soul Ring. I think it would act. I think people who see big picture, understand content, understand human dynamics, understand social. I think they can take a Soul Ring out of their deck and live with that. But I don't think that's a majority of Magic players. I think there are people you would have to pry it from their icy dead fingers to get their Soul Ring out of their deck. I really do. I believe that.
This is kind of like a bit of a difference, I think, with like how I look at this kind of systemic change. And I feel like the way I've seen a lot of people talk about it, where let's say we just ban Soul Ring. We just ban it. Not even Game Changer yet. We just ban it, hypothetically. I think it will probably take like 3 years before people move on.
I think you're probably right.
And during that time, you would see Soul Rings all over the place.
Yep.
Okay. Is that a reason not to do it?
Is that a reason not to do it?
I don't think that matters. Like, okay, like, shouldn't we then get started with that process? Like, yeah, it might take a while. Okay, yes, there's currently precons in production that are going to have Soul Ring in it, and then the next precon that releases. But if we never put it on the Game Changer list, if we never do anything about it, then we're just stuck with it forever. Like, okay, sure, whatever. The next 2 years of precons will still have we'll have Soul Ring in it, but then they won't.
Yes, that is true. And I think the first thing that everybody is going to want to do is use emotional arguments of the situation where somebody buys a deck and then they play it and they turn one Soul Ring, and the person at the table who knew it was banned lectures the new player on having this banned card in their deck that they just bought, so now their deck is banned, so they can't do anything with it. And you're like, no, put in a land. But then they're like, oh, that's so much worse. And they know that because they're smart. Now, this is the emotional arguments. I think that is exactly what people will jump to. And I think that doesn't change your argument for me. That's not the thing that does it. Okay? I think the emotional arguments, you're going to say, is it worth it? I think it's still worth it. I agree with you there. Here's the thing that I'm not sure is worth it. One of the first things that I learned about Commander was that I could play Soul Ring in it. That had a lot of weight for me as somebody who played Soul Ring like in the day, and just getting to do something that powerful. I couldn't think of another format where I got to do that without spending $1 million, like Vintage, right? Things like that. It really was an exciting moment. And when I think of a lot of the coolest games of Commander I've played, there are a lot of ebbs and flows, and often they do start with just having a Soul Ring. I think that it's not just, I think that there is a value in having an icon for your format. If you are going to ban Soul Ring, and you just think of all the times we've seen Soul Ring, and every time we see that art, we think of Commander and of Commander games and of Commander decks and of all like the people we've played Commander with. And you take that away. I don't think there's an easy replacement for that. You could put Commander Tower, but there's a lot of arts of it. And we know that there's a lot of arts of Soul Ring, but you know the one I'm talking about. It wasn't the Soul Ring I played back in Revised. You know the Commander Soul Ring. Yep. And like, I just don't, it's like having, it is very much like a logo for the format. It is a figurehead. And I think that there is a value on that can't be fully quantified. And that, I am not sure if that's worth it. I agree with you on so many levels, and especially on the emotional arguments. I agree with you that it would be worth it because it is a power level spike and it is ridiculous. And it makes a lot of what they're doing with the game changers list feel silly when they don't have Soul Ring on it. The logical side of me agrees with that. But there is a power in having an icon for your format, an icon for your game, and what that like does for people. It's like a lighthouse in a darkness that calls out to people and brings people in. Would Commander be the most popular format without Soul Ring? You can argue yes, and you'd probably be right. It feels like you should be right, but there's still a voice at the back of my head, like just like my branding marketing voice that says, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Here, I know a lot of people that deliberately don't play with it, and it's totally fine. But
I don't know any. I think I know one person like that, which is kind of wild.
I mean, it might be because of my play group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
so
could
like
be a
me and
local
my close
thing.
friends, we have all removed Soul Ring from our decks. And basically, anytime like somebody is like, "Oh man, Soul Ring," right? Like that kind of comes up in conversation. It's just like something I hear very, very often when talking about Soul Ring in real life is that people say, I play Soul Ring because everybody else plays it.
Yes.
And if I don't play it, I'm at a disadvantage.
But that's the easy thing to say. It's true, yes. But it's easy.
And then I always say, well, I don't play it. And now that argument doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have gotten quite a lot of people to just kind of like not play with it. And can I say one, like, okay, so I think you made a really interesting point with kind of like the angle of like, okay, well, it's the icon of the format.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I am kind of thinking about this from like a long-term perspective a little bit. Let's say we have 3 years. And you don't think that if we took Soul Ring out now, Commander would just die, do you?
Oh, no.
It would be fine, right?
Yeah, it would be fine.
So we have 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we can come up with a new icon?
Dude, I would like to say, I wish I could say yes, but honestly, like I played the game a really long time, and I look at the way they try to come up with icons. I look at Loot, I look at Kellen, and I'm like, they've had like 30 years. Right? Their icon is Black Lotus and they can't reprint it anymore. And when they tried to do a Magic 30 workaround, they priced it crazy and people hated it. Like their icon is an unobtainable card. The Black Lotus.
I just had a revelation. Here's what we do, okay?
Yeah.
We ban Soul Ring. We don't even ban it. We have somebody drive to every Magic player's house, personally collect all the Soul Rings, and we burn them.
Okay.
And then
sure. That'll go
and
great.
Then we go back in time and we unprint Lotus Ring. Lotus Ring doesn't exist anymore, right? They wasted that opportunity on some garbage that nobody plays. I don't know why they did that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We just Lotus Ring doesn't exist anymore.
Sure.
And then we make our new icon. And everybody lost lotuses, right? Like a lotus in Magic is just the thing that grabs people's attention.
Yes.
Ring, Lotus Ring, perfect name. That's the thing. Every deck gets a Lotus Ring, and it's just a Soul Ring that sacrifices itself.
I see. And it doesn't go on the Game Changers list, or it does?
Nah, you can keep that one. That's fine. Whatever.
It's just a little ritual. It's just a colorless ritual.
That's just a little ritual, like whatever.
Well, there you go. Guys,
we fixed
the idea. There you go. That's $1 million idea right there. I mean, you could take that shot. I actually think that is an interesting approach. I don't like the question that will always be, and this is the kind of thing, this is going to scare both Magic players and people who work at companies that rely on income from Magic cards. Can you say for sure Commander would be bigger in 3 years with that change?
I think it would be better.
But would it be bigger?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
See? They have to care about both.
I know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's always like I can already tell you the arguments people will make.
I actually think it's very popular. I think a lot of people. Do you know how many people there were a few things that immediately when this happened blew up. A lot of people asking me, what's the difference between 4 and 5? And a lot of people saying Soul Ring. What gives? What that People don't like hypocrisy, man. They're like, that's
Wizards
bullshit.
themselves, they say that it should be a game changer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, if you read their article, they don't actually make any argument that it shouldn't be a game changer. They say this is a game changer.
Yep.
We're just not going to put it on the list because tradition.
Mm-hmm.
That's the argument. That's the
Yep.
entirety of it. They don't ever argue that the game is better because of Sol Ring. They don't say that. If I could respect that, right? If they legitimately just wrote in the article, hey, we are not going to ban Sol Ring because we believe Commander is a more fun and enjoyable format with Sol Ring in every deck. I would disagree, but I think that's at least an argument. Just saying, well, it's been here forever, so we have to keep it. That's not an argument. That's nothing.
It's very frustrating when looking at something, trying to look at something, when something's presented as a tool, and we've talked about this with the language a few times, right? When something's presented as a tool, we want to approach it as such. It should flow. It should make sense. And Sol Ring, we are basically we've just been told it's not going to make sense, and we have to deal with that. And that is that's like kryptonite to Magic nerds. And
I think it's so weird. Like, even if they don't believe that it makes the game better, why don't they just say it?
I think that's an argument they don't want to have. It's such a weird position to take, you know? But the bottom line is going to be what they would like us to do is accept it and roll with it because we'll have more fun. And that is the great conundrum of Commander in a lot of ways, is like talking about it gets to a certain point. Like, you can talk about it all day, but in the end, is the game's fun? I'm trying to think of games that are ruined by Sol Ring, and I can think of a couple. I can also think of a lot of games with Sol Ring that were very fun, like a lot of them.
I can think of a lot of games that were ruined by it. Like, for example, something that people will bring up very often is, okay, somebody plays a turn 1 Sol Ring, now they are arch enemy. I think that sucks. Like, I think that is a frustrating experience. I've had that experience many times. Yeah. Because, like, so first of all, that's the very definition of a game changer, right? Like, if you drop a card on turn 1 and you immediately become arch enemy, the game has changed. But also, the thing is that, to me, I don't want to be in that position. And I find it frustrating to play 1 versus 3. And I see people get frustrated by playing 1 versus 3. I think you are the kind of person that would relish in that. I think you would enjoy that. But I see a lot of people that play Magic, they just want to show up for the evening. They've not had that much time to think about it. They just have their decks that they've had for years. They just want to sit down, take a break from work, take a break before the weekend starts because they've got a lot of shit on the plate there as well. And just play, turn off their brain. So they sit down, play the turn 1 Sol Ring, and now they've got 3 people ganging up on them. And they get frustrated by that. This is something I see pretty frequently. And maybe that is not something that bothers you. I think this is probably where we're selecting a little bit for bias with the community that we are engaging in just by default, by making content on the internet. We're going to be talking to people that are more likely to be with a competitive mindset. And as a result, they're more likely to see a 1 versus 3 as a challenge as opposed to a source of frustration. But there's also another thing that I feel like gets missed out very frequently, and which is, what if 2 players have a Sol Ring? Have you been in that situation where you are the person that doesn't have one and there are 2 people that do? It feels like you're not even playing. And those situations, those non-games, is something that I like. So I don't know, I didn't really mention this, but like, I am a game developer. I have developed a bunch of games. I am working on 2 games right now. I'm working on a board game, working on a video game. I've made a whole bunch of video games. I've made a board game in the past as well. I have worked on games. And for me, something that I always aim for is I want people to engage with the game as much as possible. I want them to kind of like be in the zone a little bit. And to me, that moment where you're sitting at a table and you're like, oh, I am not participating here. When you zone out, you start looking at your phone. You don't pay attention to what the other people are doing because you know it doesn't really matter because it's not like you can really do anything. That is so bad, especially considering that players are just looking to play for an evening, you know, after a long day at work, that I think it's just not worth the upsides to have those moments. I recently had a game at our Friday Night Magic where there is a player that I know he's got a stressful job. He doesn't really like his job very much, but he does it. He's good at it. So he just kind of keeps doing it. He thinks it's important, but he doesn't like it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe like it is the wrong word. He doesn't enjoy it. That's probably the better way to put it. And we sat down to play, and we are player 3 and 4. Players 1 and 2 play a Soul Ring. And we look at each other and we already know we're not playing. We're not playing. So we sat there for the next hour while players 1 and 2 played, and we didn't. And that was just the one of our 2 games for that night.
I think I understand the sentiment. This is the kind of thing where there are different ways to absorb those situations, right? And your description of the person who just wants to unwind and have a good time and play their game, right? And get to feel like part of the game with the time that they have. I think that's very relatable. I do. I find that there are a lot of things, though, that can take people out of a game if they're in a mindset where if somebody else is ahead and I'm behind, I'm not having fun and I'm not in it. I think that's a mindset that can sink in under a lot of circumstances. And Soul Ring is an easy target in this situation, especially with 2 of them. It's absolutely an easy target. I struggle with that. I struggle with like thinking, okay, then we have to do something about Soul Ring because of that story. Because I've both been that person and I've had to learn how to deal with that. And I have to learn to deal with it because I'm a content creator. Other people don't have to learn with it. They feel their feelings. They go play another game. They say it would be better if there weren't Soul Ring. Maybe they take Soul Rings out of their decks. That doesn't happen again. And they say life is fine without Soul Ring. As a content creator, I've been in that situation where it's literally my job now to stay engaged with this game and have fun. And I've definitely found myself like pulled into that mindset very quickly in a number of Commander games because I've played so much Magic, especially 1v1 standard Magic, that when things start going against me, I already know when I want to concede. We kind of talked about this with our respective games earlier, right? We already know that it's over, right? In Commander, I would say especially, this is the place where you can turn to that argument about the social format, right? I've had games where it felt like I did nothing, and I have forced myself to learn to embrace the suck in such a way that I'm still here with my friends, and I'm going to cast my spells and see what happens. And I'm not trying to rah-rah everybody. I have won those games where I felt like I did nothing. Yeah. Like, it happens.
But I feel like that's not great, is it?
Is it great to win those games? I think it's a learning moment. I think that, I don't want to spiral on these stories because it's an approach. I have an approach that says I wanted to concede on turn 3 or something like that, but I won that game. So what I learned is that it's not as bad as I think it is. It's a mindset. I feel behind. I feel left out. I feel like I am not involved. I'm not getting to do what I hoped I did when I spent that 10 minutes shuffling my giant 100-card deck, right? That's the feeling. And there is like a triumphing over that I think is important. And that's why like we get into the mindset of like, do I relish the 1v3? Yeah, because that's the type of person I am. Do I relish being the villain? Yeah. Do I relish being the underdog? Yeah. I always will take a challenge as a good thing. And I recognize that not every player is, especially somebody who's tired and just wants to see their deck do a cool thing that they've been thinking about all week. And, they just got some new cards that they want to try. They don't want to hear all that. Right? They want to do their thing, and they might not get to if the opponents are starting with Soul Rings. But I do think that there's something about great moments that come out of great adversity that I don't want to it's hard for me to not see the upside in that conversation too, is the thing. That's the thing I just can't get out of my head because that's how I've just built into myself to tackle situations.
I think that's a really valid point. And I think there's also good counter arguments to be made against what I just said, right? For example, if in that same story, instead of a soul ring, I just missed a land drop.
Yeah, it happens.
Isn't that the same thing? Yeah, it kind of is, right? And I think that the way you describe it, if you have that kind of mindset and you can cultivate that idea, then you look at Soul Ring and you probably think it's totally fine. And I think that's fair. Absolutely. And now, if that's your argument, I don't know, I think then we just have like maybe a bit of a different like attitude or something like that. But there's nothing there where I'm like, I can argue you out of this. This is just fine. We have a differing opinion and totally acceptable.
And
right?
it's Commander,
and again,
right? We don't have like numbers or something that we can point to that says this many players like give up or hit frowny face and didn't have a good time because of this card compared to those who like still do. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah, the thing is that to me, ultimately, I feel like what Soul Ring just, I don't know. I guess this is just like a bit of a difference. Like this is just kind of like my perspective on this stuff. But I think that the highs of it are not worth the lows. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And yes, we can have the same lows one way or the other. But I think what makes Soul Ring frustrating to me, I'm trying to condense this a little bit right now. It's actually a really interesting conversation, I feel. But what it kind of like makes it frustrating to me is that I can build my deck with enough lands. Like I can put 40, 42 lands into my deck and I will hit my land drops. But if I can only play one Soul Ring. And if you get your turn one Soul Ring and I don't, I couldn't really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do anything right away about that Soul Ring. Yeah, but you can.
I mean, I guess I can blow it up.
Just... You can cast your spells a little later than the person who got fortunate and hit their Soul Ring. Goes. And yes, you feel like you're behind. It feels like you're behind.
It's not just behind though. Like
way behind.
Sorry. Way behind.
Way
right?
behind.
This is something I think in the phrasing in the article was very disingenuous, the way Wizards put it, where it's just kind of like, oh, you get a little bit of extra ramp. No.
Somebody is steamrolling you.
If somebody, if instead of Soul Ring, we had a turn one Wild Growth, I would probably be okay with that, right? If there was just a colorless Wild Growth in the format that everybody could play, that would be like fine. But Soul Ring is so much better than that.
It is.
It is so much better. It is the best card in the format. And my ultimate argument regarding it, to bring it all back, because I think we're circling a little bit, is I just think it should be a game changer. Yes. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that. We agree on that.
And I don't think we need to change what like the list for that though. We don't need to include we don't need to say that, oh, you are now allowed one game changer in every deck. No, I don't think that's necessary at all. Although, if we are compromising, and I want to say I am not a big fan of compromises, because I think compromises is just a way to make a bad solution work, I guess. I would rather find a good solution. But if we're going to compromise, I would be okay with saying every bracket gets one game changer. And Soul Ring is a game changer. You get to keep your Soul Ring if you want to, but I'm going to be playing something else then, I suppose.
I think that's a good way to keep the shame on you moments out of like the pre-con experience, out of the new player experience, and kind of the disappointing, wait, I can't play my deck that can come from that. That's the emotional argument that is very strong, and I know that people who are selling the game would very much want to avoid. So I like that solution. And I do think it engages people with the game changer list earlier, as opposed to the, you either ignore it up here completely, or you have to count it and min-max it down here.
Or we could do the long-term plan. One game changer in every deck right now, so you get to keep your Soul Ring, and we stop printing Soul Rings. And in 2 years from now, when there are no more Soul Rings,
you did it.
No more game changes.
That solves the problem.
I solved it.
You solved it.
Done.
Okay.
Podcast over. We're not even going to get to bracket free.
Here comes our thing that's not a Lotus ring. Our Soul Lotus. Soul Lotus is releasing. Yep.
Oh, Soul Lotus. That's probably a good way to put it. Yeah, instead of Lotus ring.
Perfect. So that's a solution. That's a solution. Do you have are there other pieces of the bracket thing that feel weird to you, or feel special or unique, or that you would change?
So the thing is, okay. Bracket free to me has a problem, which is the, like you brought it up a bit earlier, where I think right now there's a bracket missing. It's basically like, I feel like there should be a bracket 2.5 because we're currently going from precons straight into free game changers. And sorry, if you tell people you're allowed 0 to free game changers, that is telling people play free game changers.
I am so already tortured with this, just building a few decks for the show, because it's like if I'm building a 3, then I mean, which three game changers do I pick? Or do I have a 3 that is only a 3 because of the one game changer in it? I just had this with a deck on my show. The one game changer was Jessica's Will. I took it out. It's a 1. It's a 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is actually like, okay, first of all, sorry. It is not a 1.
No.
No, it's not. Because it's very important to remember that this bracket system is measuring intent. So it's not measuring the power level of your deck. If you've built a deck that is meant to be played against upgraded, or like against precons, you've built a 2. If you build a deck that is meant to be stronger than precons, you have built a 3. It doesn't matter what the deck actually is. You might be really shit at it. You might have wanted to build a CEDH deck, but you're just really bad at the game and your deck is on a precon level. But in this bracket system, the way you should understand is that deck is still a CEDH deck because this measures your intent.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a guideline for how you are looking at deck building and how you decide which decks go where. So just taking a card Jessica's Will out of the deck does not make it a 1. Sorry, I don't mean to lecture.
No, it's cool. Because it's a symptom of, I look at Moxfield and there's a number next to my deck now. It changed. So that's what it is.
That's horrible. I actually think the worst part of the bracket system is the way it was implemented digitally in deck builders. Like, that is horrible the way they did that, because what that is doing is it is encouraging people to only look at the surface level of this system, right? They're not actually reading intent. They're just building a deck and then the system tells them, well, this is probably a 2. And then they're like, okay, I guess it's a 2. While in reality, the system does not matter. All it can do is measure the hard lines that are put in place, which is really just the game changers, nothing else, right?
Yes.
And the thing is that the system cannot measure your intent. It doesn't know that. So how could it tell you that your deck is a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4? It can't.
There is a strong desire by the human nerd mind to slap a number on it so they know how much credibility to give it. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's kind of like, for me, the first thing I think of is I like being mythic on Magic Arena. It honestly doesn't like mean anything to me after all these years. Yeah. It just happens because I'm out here trying to do my job. But videos with the little mythic scarab and the fact that people see you as a mythic player, I mean, they click more. I was one of the first people to really put mythic in the title of a ton of videos, and that's when my channel really began to grow, because I would race to mythic just as fast as I could, so I could put mythic and a rank next to like my videos, and people clicked on that, and a lot of people have duplicated and done that as well, and now it doesn't mean what it used to, but it just really clued me in to how much people care about having little number or little credibility indicator next to it, or little thing that tells them what they believe, what they infer as a lot of information represented in a very small and succinct way, such as a number. So if I am looking for a really awesome Yuriko deck, but I don't want to play CEDH, and there is a 4 next to the Yuriko deck as I'm browsing the website, that's what I'm going to click, not the 1, the 4. So there is a demand to have that. And you are 100% right that it doesn't measure intent. And I think the responsible way to do it, that they probably won't do, but if if any of the Moxfield folks who have been very good to me in the past are listening, this is what I think you should do. I think you should click a thing that says get your deck's bracket rank or get your deck's bracket. And the first question you should answer is just a little like drop down of like what you are playing or your goal when playing. And then just hit show rank, and it shows you a rank. And if you hit like casual or whatever, it'll just say 1. And if other people click on that because they see a 1 and they look at it and say that's not casual, well, it was made with a casual mindset. It's what it is. Maybe there's problems with that that come through with people trying to read and decipher information from looking at a website. But what it should say at the top is the intent is casual. Like if somebody clicks through on something because it's a 1 and they see a decked out dragon, if it says right at the top, creator's intent is casual, you can't argue with that. Like that's,
no,
they followed the rules.
They might not be good at it, right?
They tried to make a bunch of dragons. Like my Dragon on Moxfield, my Dragon deck is a 1. But if I went to create my own rank and I clicked and it said, what is your goal? And I put, I want to win I want to win a fun game, something like that. Then it probably takes your 1 and makes it a 3. And gives you a little message like you might play against some game changers and late game combos. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm Dragon. Yes. I'm going to fucking win if you don't stop me.
So I think I really like the way you propose the brackets should be measured on deck builder sites like that, right? Where it should be the other way around. The way it works right now is that it gives you a rank, it gives you your bracket, and then you can go in and modify it and fit it to your intent. But in reality, what it should do is you should first have to add your intent. Moxfield should not tell you your bracket. It should just say, hey, click this button. Please click this button. Come on. Click this button.
Yep.
And then you click the button.
So you can see your bracket. Like people want to know this thing. Yeah.
And then you click the button and Moxfield is like, what are you trying to do? And then you click the button there, and then it tells you, okay, cool. Your intent is to play bracket 2. And then it tells you, sorry, but you're playing free game changes.
Yep. There you go. And it can be helpful like that.
Way around. It shouldn't be the way it is right now. That's complete nonsense.
And right? I have to do it to be fair. If you use Moxfield and you hover over it, they do give you a lot of disclaimers of it doesn't measure this and it's trying to measure that. But the fact that you already have a number, that human nature, we're going to focus on the number. Whether if you put a little number next to the thing automatically, we're going to hyper fixate on that number. Oh my gosh, I don't have a loan that I am trying to take out. I hopefully will never have to take out a loan again in my life, but I know my credit score because god damn it, we care about numbers that are associated with the things that we have.
So I think what you mentioned earlier with the rank is really interesting. So that's kind of it goes back a little bit to my experience with Dota, right? But that's something that I observed there's a lot as well, where people care a lot about your ranking, your MMR. And this is kind of something because people care about status. They just see that as your status. If you have a high ranking, you're a person of high status. And what is interesting, basically, is I was always somebody that kind of refused that system. I never played ranked. I never tried to play ranked. I always was like a casual Dota player and explicitly made that my goal. And when I played only custom games, I also, of course, didn't have a rank because I wasn't playing ranked. I was playing custom games. And the interesting thing about it is this has always resulted in a certain subsection of people getting really mad at me. They were angry.
This sounds right. Yep.
And it's not that they were angry that because I never said that I'm a high-ranked player. I wasn't even playing ranked matchmaking intentionally. And I told you I just don't want to do it, right? And the thing is, people would try to goad me into it. They would be like, you're just afraid to find out your ranking. You just think you would just see how bad you really are. And so on, and so on, and so on. And then my response would always be, I just don't care. I do not care. That's it. Sorry, I don't know what else to tell you there, right? It does not matter to me. I'm sorry that it matters to you so much. But people would be upset at me simply for refusing to participate in that status system because they do like the number so much, right? And somebody refusing to not participate in the number kind of makes them feel as if their number is meaningless. And I don't really know how this connects to Magic. I just think it's interesting.
Oh, it's interesting. Oh, yes.
I don't know how to this one back
dude,
around.
I am feeling this. I am feeling this so much. The amount of comments that I get now, because I don't try to race to Mythic, so I can have Mythic in my name anymore. The amount of people who are like, what is today? It's like the 19th that we're recording this. So the month is like 2/3 gone. And I'm still going to get comments that are going to be like, still in Diamond, huh? Which, by the way, is right below Mythic, and 90% of players don't reach. But they're going to, like, I don't know, man. It's kind of wild how much people want to dial in on this.
You try ranking up if you play a new deck every day.
So
do you think this man wouldn't be able to get Mythic if he just queued the same deck for 10 days in a row? Would take less than that.
I can do it.
But
I've done it before.
Because that would suck. That would be bad content, right? Do you guys just want to watch him play Domain for 8 days in a row and then get Mythic?
But they get invested. Like I think that there's something interesting about YouTube as a product that in the modern world, we have access to all kinds of people doing the thing that we want to do, that we want to learn from. Yeah. And there is a certain amount of diligence that we are told to take, that our brains want us to take. We want to find the best information. We want to find the right source, right? And so little credibility indicators like your rank with no other context speak to somebody who is hyper fixated on that they want the best source, and they then look for, well, who's the highest ranked player making daily videos? Because there's 100 people making daily arena videos. Who's the high ranked player doing it in a way that like works for me? And I think I did a good job pulling those people in. And then I tried to get them to stay to see that it's not really that important. It's like I don't want to sell you snake oil, but quite frankly, I did the ranking stuff to try to get more appeal and reach more people. But my message was always like, Magic is like high rank. I like competing. I just like it. And I think other people do too. They want to feel this way about themselves, but it's not you. Like it is not your identity as Mythic this and that. And this coming from a guy who uses the nickname the one in best of one and has a Mythic #1 like screenshot next to my video doing that. That's just branding. That's a character, man.
That's
like,
good branding, by the way. I like it. The
thanks.
One in best of one. That's very nice.
Yeah,
it's very catchy.
Thank you. It's got me far. But it's a wild to see how people like fixate on that. And then still today, like I said, people will tell me that they want me in Mythic earlier. There are people who have told me my dream, again, coming from them, my dream, their dream is for me to win a pro tour. I mean, thank you, but that's not my dream. That's not even on my radar. Not even close. Like, I don't know how people get to that point, or if they're just trying to be nice or share something that they feel like because they get to talk to me on Twitch chat or something. But those, like, I love you guys. That is not my goal. When I was a kid, when I was a kid, I was diehard for this stuff. Now I really want to enjoy myself. And that is that's a whole different approach to content. That's content like this, quite frankly, is getting to talk about the game.
This has been really fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you like hearing the yap, it works.
This is, I don't know how long this is going to be, but it's already way too long, I'm guessing.
I honestly don't sit down with a time in mind, but you tell, we can wrap this one up if you like.
Oh, no, I am in no rush.
Okay.
The problem is just that I am so in not a rush that we'll be here for another 2 hours if we can.
I would probably call it at some point, but I don't need to now. I am, because this is good. Like, this is stuff I don't usually get to talk about with anybody. Go ahead.
So, one of the reason why I decided to start making Magic content, because I knew last February that I was going to stop with Dota at the end of the year. That's when I made my decision. And I made it really early in the year, so I had a lot of time to sit on it and make sure that I actually, want to stick with it, because it's a big decision, because I've been making Dota content for a very, very long time. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. To be honest, I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do next. But I wasn't sure I wanted to do Magic content. But then I went to the Command Fest in Frankfurt. There was just a little Command Fest, and I just grabbed 2 of my friends, and I was just like, let's just go. Come on. We all don't know what this is like. I just want to see kind of the community outside of our community. Because as much as there's a fairly big Magic community where I live, it's still kind of a small area. You still eventually have seen everybody, you kind of know all the people.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to see what the larger community is like. And so I went to the Command Fest in Frankfurt, and it was wonderful. It made me feel like something I actually don't feel too often. It made me feel really nostalgic, because in the early days of Dota wasn't like it is today. I mentioned a second ago, it's all about status and ranking and all about the pro players. Back in the day, when I started playing, we were all terrible, and the game was laggy, and the ranking system didn't work properly. So we just played. Who cares? And it was fun, and there was a real community, and there were events you could go to and meet people, and it was lively. And eventually that all kind of like died away. Maybe that's just because I stopped going to events, but it also was because I think all of my friends kind of stopped playing Dota. And, then I didn't really have anybody to go to events with, and it just kind of felt a little bit weird. But then I went to the Command Fest in Frankfurt, and there were so many people there that were just happy to be playing Magic and talking Magic and hanging out. And I sat down and I talked to people, and I played with people I had never met before, and just talked to them, and everybody was on the same page, just happy to play some Commander. Who cares what happens? We're just here to have a good time. It was a real sense of community all together again. And then, I also met some content creators, which kind of like helped, because it again gave me that feeling of like, oh wow, these people are kind of accessible. In the Dota community, the email that I wrote you, so that we have this conversation right now, would have gotten ignored. I would never have been able to reach anybody, because nobody ever responds. I have tried. It doesn't work. And in the Dota community, I was a much bigger content creator comparatively than I am now in the Magic community. And that's just because it was very insulated. It was very kind of like closed off. And in Magic, I really got the feeling is like, oh, it's connected, and you can talk to people, you can reach out to people, and people care. And that was wonderful. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try doing Magic content, because at the end of the day, I just really, really love how it's a community. And even though we might not all agree, and even though there are things that are complicated and tricky, and some of these discussions are going to leave people mad, even though I just think they're really interesting. And some people I'm going to rub wrong because of just the kind of person that I am, where I am opinionated and I like telling people my opinions because I think it's fun. At the end of the day, I'm really, really glad to be here, because I think it's so wonderful how it's connected, and it's one big community that plays with each other, that is part of the same thing. And we're all kind of like, we're here in this together. And I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't really know where I was going without it.
You're doing great. No, that like Magic. So I came up as a creator in 2020. So lockdown, right? And me playing Arena every day became part of people's routine. But like before that, I was a creator, but not many people knew me. Like if I went to an event, maybe one person would know me, right? And so during that time that we were all like locked inside, like you could feel like there was that itch to, people really missed it. They missed kind of the traveling show where you have your friends that you see at these events, like Magic Cons, like Command Fest. They weren't called them back then. It was like the Grand Prix circuit, right? It focused on competitive play, but at all nights, LobbyCon is legendary, where you just go play Commander and like take over hotel lobbies and find games, at all hours of the night, all night.
That sounds
at these
so
things,
sick.
right? So like I knew about all that, and I had experienced some of it when I was younger, trying to keep up with pro Magic, and I got to do some pro tour. I got to visit like U.S. Nationals. I got to be in a U.S. Nationals, but like I didn't quite find the community in that time. And honestly, that was a me thing, because I was way too competitive. I looked at everybody like an adversary back then. So after pandemic, and I went out and I got to go to Command Fests. Thank you, sponsor Cool Stuff Inc. for the times I've gotten to do Command Fests. And Magic Cons, since those started. I've been to all the Magic Cons since that started. It is a different live experience to have that many people around you that love what you do. Because like growing up, I was the weirdo for loving this stuff. It is a very small school. I was I still to this day, if I see somebody that knew me in high school, they'll be like, oh yeah, do you still have the Magic cards? Do you still have your little magic cards? You know, that kind of thing. And it's very funny in hindsight now, because there's so much power in being a room with the people that see the world in a way that you do. And you don't all have everything in common. There are always some bizarre characters you will meet. But for the most part, what you have in common is this love for this game. And it's very powerful. Did you get to go to MagicCon last year in the Netherlands? No?
No, I
Amsterdam.
I don't know. It was it was a big trip, and I at the time I wasn't sure if if it was really worth it. I now regret it. I wish I had gone.
I will tell you, Germany showed up, man. I swear 3 out of every 4 people there were German, and it was amazing. And how much, just how into it, dude, it was such a good time. And it's the first MagicCon that I've done in Europe. And the community is very strong there. A lot of very passionate fans. It wasn't that first time. I take that back. I did Barcelona, but Barcelona was too close to the end of the pandemic that it didn't feel the same. Like everybody was still very, I think, cautious in Barcelona. And it didn't help that it was summer in July and the air conditioning in that building wasn't very strong.
Oh,
Amsterdam was a whole other level of just energy. People excited to be here playing the game. It was beautiful. I hope you get to do a MagicCon. I hope they do them in Europe again soon. Can I ask so you met some creators. Did you meet Malone? Matches Malone?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, when I went there, I met I talked to Toma.
Oh, he's awesome. Yes.
Yeah,
I love
he was
Tomer.
great.
Yeah, MTG Goldfish.
Toma, if you somehow see this, I'm calling you out. You said you were gonna send me a picture of your setup, of your recording setup.
We want to see it, Tomer.
I sent you an email, and you never did. Admittedly, I should have followed up. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I just think it's
Twitter.
funny.
DM on Twitter. I can't email Tomer and get a response either. DM on Twitter.
No, it's fine. I just think it's funny. And I also talked to the card market people a little bit.
Okay.
Talked a bunch to Toffel. Oh, and I also saw Phil from Goldfish.
Yeah.
Although mostly he just walked past me and was like, "Hi, Phil." And he was like, "Hi." I'm like, "Cool," whatever. Although, give me just 1 second. I want to dig something out really quick, okay?
Do it. And while he's not here, you guys should subscribe to Commander Baumi. I'll put a link in the description.
So this is my Genku deck I mentioned earlier, but this is kind of like another point, like kind of adjacent to the point I was saying earlier, where I'm like, Magic is so wonderful to me because of its community. So first of all, another thing I really like about Magic, this may seem kind of trivial, but I'm somebody that cares a lot about, like, I really enjoy presents, but I'm not a very materialistic person, if that makes sense. So I really like it when people gift me stuff.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be expensive. I just care about the thought. My wife got me these, which are sleeves with our cat on them, and I think they're so cute.
Aww, hey kitty. Hello.
So I think that's just really fun that, like that's something that she can do now. Because she always said it's really difficult to gift me stuff. And that's true. Once you're an adult, when you need something, you just buy it.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's kind of difficult to give you a gift. But with Magic, I have access to this kind of like trivial thing. There's like, you can just gift me like some garbage basically, and I'm going to be really excited about it. But recently I went to first I made a video. I made a really stupid video about the speed demon. And in that video, I talk about how I like the gold borderlands. I just think they are cute. I like them. I know a lot of people don't like them.
A lot of people hate those. A lot of people hate those.
We're not gonna reach a conclusion on this one. We don't need to argue about it. I like them. Other people don't. Whatever. Then the following week, I go to Friday Night Magic, and there's a guy that has been there a couple of times, but I never played with him. I never really talked much with him. No, that's not true. I think I've played with him before, but like, you know what I mean? We're just like,
an acquaintance.
Right, exactly. Like we kind of we touched the same space, we existed in the same area, we've played a match, but we never really like got into much of a conversation. And he, as I walked past him, he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, give me 1 second." Reached into his bag, and he pulled out this. And he was like, "I saw your video, and I saw that you like these lands." And I got this one from my box topper. So
Beautiful.
here, you can have it. And this lad isn't worth anything. This is like 50 cents. But that thought, the pure fact that he thought of me, and then he went through the effort of packaging it up, putting it in a sleeve, bringing it to the store, waiting until he saw me, pausing me, reaching into his bag, getting it out, and gifting it to me, it means the world. And I'm so thankful. And it is truly, truly wonderful. And I love the Magic community. Like, it's so great. It is so great. I'm so thankful to be here. And I hope I don't ruffle too many feathers since we're just starting out. But, little stories like that, I just think it's so great. Me and my close cycle of friends, like my close friends group, we kind of like, we often joke, we kind of have like communistic approach to Magic cards, where we each have our own collection, but if somebody needs a card that somebody else has, just fucking take it.
Yeah.
You don't need to give me anything for it.
Yep, 100%.
Right. And I think also that is just like, that's so fun. It's just like, it kind of connects everybody together, right? Like I had this, like, it's not even just the cheap cards. I gifted a friend who just needed a Croxa for his deck. I saw he had one proxy. And I'm like, wait, I got one. So I just gave him the Croxa. That's like $6 or whatever. And I don't mean to like point myself out as being exceptionally generous. I just mean that's kind of like the general behavior within that group. And I think that's so cool. And in general, people are really generous, I found, like, we have like a variety of WhatsApp groups regarding the communities here. And every once in a while, people will be like, hey, I'm looking for this card, I'm looking for that card. And of course, if it's something expensive, people will expect something in return. But if it's just these small cards, it is really very common. And people are just like, hey, here, I got the ones that you need. Just take them and leave them be. And that's how I met actually one of my best friends. I asked for vampires because I needed them for my vampire deck. And next time I went at the time still to the restaurant, he called out to me and he gave me like a pile. He didn't just give me like one or two. He gave me like a pile.
Yeah, here's a deck of, here's all the vampires you could need.
Here's all the vampires I own. And I'm like, oh my God, do I owe you anything? But it's like, no, just take them. And that's just so wonderful.
They're really generous. I've learned I have to be careful online by saying I need something or like I'm looking for something, because if it's like below a certain price threshold, like $10, I'll actually get a lot of people like really trying to get it to me, which there's a card, a girl and her dogs. I wanted to build my wife a deck around it, like Rule Zero Commander. It's one of those playtest cards that was only made for conventions. I know which one you mean, yes. But it's still only worth like $1. And I mentioned just offhand one time that I was looking for one to build her a deck, and I got it quite a while ago, but I got an email yesterday. I get emails on a weekly regular basis of people being like, do you still need this? You still need this? Like, they want to give it to me, and it's so sweet. It's so nice of them.
For my birthday last year, I turned 30, so I'm old.
Congrats.
I'm not sure. You're probably older than me. Are you? How old are you?
It's one of our favorite subjects here on the show. Do you want to guess?
I think you're older than me. I would put you at like probably little early 30s. 32, 33? Would be my guess.
Okay, you're going with like 33.
Yeah, something like that. Okay,
good. I like that. That's good. We can keep it. It can just be that. You need to know.
Oh, it's older.
Dude, you're off by over a decade.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I'm turning 44.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very old.
No, I mean, you don't really look it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I've had almost all of Magic's 30 years under my belt. So it's been a ride.
I mean, I wish, honestly, I've been trying to like kind of relive some of the early Commander years by just doing a lot of research. I made some videos about that. Anyways, so when I turned 30, I asked my close friends, I was just like, I would like a present for my birthday from you. And I said, I want a forest. And that was it. That was the whole instruction. I didn't want any expensive. I didn't ask them for anything specific. I just said, you guys can do whatever you want with the forest. You can draw in it, you can paint it, you can get me just an artwork of a forest that you really like. You can get me a secret layer that you really like. Do whatever you want. it is fully up to you. I got a variety of different forests. Now, I'm not going to get all of them out because that would just kind of take a little while because I've scattered them throughout a variety of different decks. But these are some of my most treasured Magic cards that I got, where I had some people, like literally, like I had one of them completely scrub off the art from a forest and paint a completely new one. I had another one kind of like find a very specific forest that he thought I would enjoy. Another friend of mine went and drew a little comic on a forest, which is really cute. But what then happened, which was another moment of those where I was like, I really, really love this community so much. And it really like made me want to invest more into it, if that makes sense, was that I got forests from people that I didn't ask for. So I got this one, which is it's a proxy. Proxy is a forest. Who cares, right? It's printed, but it has Dota artwork on it.
Oh, I was gonna say I had no idea what that is.
But that is tiny, and they just profit on it. There's a Dota heroes, and he knows I like Dota, obviously, right? And he just went and out of nowhere. I didn't ask him for this. Because even though I really like this guy, I think he's great, he's very busy. He has got a young child, so we don't hang out that much, if that, it is how it is. But then he got me this, and I thought that was just so great. And then something, these are, my sister made these. She doesn't really know much about Magic, but she went and she got some specific forests that she liked and then got flowers that fit into the color scheme and like painted, like dried them and then stuck them onto the forest, which I think is really cute. And that was just like, that's just wonderful. I've had so many great experiences with the Magic community, and I think it's just, I just want to be part of it. That's why I'm so involved with it. Like, as I say, I run FNM, I do these tournaments. And I always try to make take care that people feel included and as many people as possible can play. These are things that are really important to me. I've actually just been contacting, I don't know if this is actually something that's happening, but there's like it's kind of like a little organization a couple towns over that are trying to run this kind of like using Magic as a way to like introduce youth into strategy games and social experiences within strategy games type thing. And they're looking for somebody to lead that project, run an evening as the lead for that evening. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I've been contacted if I want to do that. And I was like, sure, let's do this. Let's figure this out. It's not set in stone yet, but like the thing is, like, I am actively involving myself more and more in these communities because I think it's just so wonderful.
Magic really lends itself to that. I think that it's amazing, all the kind of grassroots support that the game gets. I've seen it grow from the weird thing to a thing that keeps and connects like people all over the world. So it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear that perspective. It is kind of like you're walking into the warm embrace of Magic the Gathering after the cold Dota years, and we're here for you. We got you, dude. It's cool.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so happy. I mean, honestly, it's been a delight just like talking to you here. Although I made a big sacrifice tonight. I didn't even tell you that, because today is actually one of my usual Magic nights.
Uh-oh. Sorry, dude, who knows? And nobody was going to turn one Soul Ring, so it was probably going to be a really good game.
Oh, no, it's because
I'm
my
sorry.
friend group. We don't
I'm
play
sorry,
Soul Ring.
dude. I didn't know it. I wrecked it. They're probably over there just looking at the empty chair, feeling sad.
Oh no, there's other people there. They'll have found somebody to play with. But yeah, no, God, I mean, we kind of got completely lost if it came to talking about the brackets.
It's okay. I've had a really good time. We can save some of it for like a future show or something like that, because I also Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to finish my bracket thoughts in like 1 minute. All right.
Go for it.
All right. So the big problem that I see with the brackets right now is that I think there's kind of a bracket missing between the pre-cons and the upgraded, where there's a lot of people like me, for example. Like, I think the game changers are a really good classification of cards that I don't want to play with. And if you put me into bracket 3, I'm now always playing against free game changers, which I don't enjoy. But I don't want to play pre-cons either. In my ideal world, I would really like it if there was a bracket 2.5 where I'm playing stronger than a pre-con level, but I also don't have to deal with game changers. I don't have to deal with 2-card combos that end the game. Even if they come down to in 5, turn 6, that's just not an experience I'm really looking for. So if I had my say, I think the way what you suggested is a great idea to just remove the word precon from bracket 2. That would effectively create the same thing. Or I actually also like the idea that a viewer of mine suggested that we add another bracket like 2.5, like in between 2 and 3. And that way we basically have 1, 2, and 3, which is the casual side, and then 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, which is the more competitive side. And you have to make a choice. Do you want to be more social or do you want to be more competitive? Because currently 3 is positioned in the middle between competitive and social, which is really difficult because now what does that mean? I get the intent of wanting to kind of have the center bracket that's between the two, so you're a little bit in between. But I think for communicating intent specifically, it would be better if it wasn't that easy to just settle into the middle, but instead that you have to make a choice. Which side are you actually on?
I think that is an interesting way of approaching it. You are aware. I know that you're aware that the idea of like just having less brackets in general is a good thing. And so they have to justify whether or not like the adding another one and kind of splitting it is necessary. That might be an anxious choice for a lot of people to make. Of which, like, I like it because I like starting with intent. I think it's very helpful in Commander. But I think that might be a really difficult thing for other people to do. I can think of a lot of people in my life that would struggle with that, like push and pull. When you're building for content, you already, like if you do a Commander show regularly, you already kind of face this conundrum, right? We have to decide what kind of game we're going to have at the beginning, usually a week before we even build the decks. So that intentionality is already there. So like I'm used to it. But I don't know. Would that solve it? I think it would be a bonus. I agree. I don't want to play against precons, but I want to play tuned, powerful decks. But I also don't want to play against 2-card combos. I also don't want to play against mass land destruction. I guess my other thing is, how bad are 3 game changers in a deck? I haven't had a lot of experience with this. I haven't built many decks where I looked at the list and picked the 3. And in a lot of cases, my first experiments doing this, it was actually very difficult because there were actually cards I wanted in my power level 3 ahead of the cards on the game changers list. And I wanted to play with some of these cards that only go in this deck, not the Rhystic Study that goes in every deck.
I feel like game changers have a couple of problems just in general. Like first of all, they're just kind of not very thematic, which I think is like, that's probably why you said, oh, I would rather play this card because it fits better with what I'm trying to do. Right. But like, that's the problem with the game just with Rhystic Study. Rhystic Study is probably a better choice. It's just not, or like a stronger choice. It's just not interesting.
Yeah.
And that's like my main problem with it. I don't really care that they are strong. Honestly, one of the problems I have in my local community is that I win too many games. And that's something I'm kind of trying to change. So I'm like intentionally making my decks weaker and weaker because I just kind of like win too much.
Hold on. Can I talk about that for a minute? Is that
sure?
So you also said that you don't want to be an arch enemy, right? That was part of the Soul Ring conversation. Would you say that's still true? Okay.
Well, no, sorry. I don't mind being the arch enemy. That's maybe like a wrong way to put it. The problem I see with Soul Ring is that it's an easy card to like immediately create an arch enemy.
Sure.
I think creating an arch enemy across a game is interesting. It creates a story. It makes it so that the game has a narrative, which is really cool and enjoyable. Playing a Soul Ring on turn 1 and instantly becoming the arch enemy does not have a narrative. You just are now.
Agreed.
That
but I'm trying to draw from that conversation. You win a lot, so you're trying to deck build in a direction that maybe takes some of that pressure off. But are you said you are comfortable with being arch enemy in that way?
Again, like I feel like it's fine if I build into like if kind of the game leads there, then I'm totally fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's fine.
So I have a lot of experience with this. Your friend, I found that the more I tried to build towards it, the less fulfilling I found like my experiences to be, but that my friends themselves definitely adapted with time to just go after me when all things were equal. And since I never really minded that, like I found that like trying to change my decks didn't change the dynamic very much. And it just made me feel less fulfilled because I wasn't really playing the game the way I wanted to. But that, like, the play group, though, I think the play group will do a better job correcting for that than like you really have to. So this is just guy who's been on this journey, and you, like, people who watch the shows know I won a lot at the beginning. Now I get, I'm checked rather aggressively in a lot of games, and that's okay. Like, I think your friends will, I think they will adapt to that. I really do.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is really valid for the kind of situation that you are describing, where you have like a regular play group. But if I'm playing against my like close cycle of friends, then I'm not winning more than them. Then it's fine. I'm talking about outside of that. I'm talking against random pods.
Sure. Okay. My bad. Misunderstood.
No, it's totally fine. That's why I'm clarifying it. And I mean, like, I wasn't clear about that at first. But like in those random pods, I often play budget decks. Like, I pretty much only play budget decks. And still, it's just, you build the deck well, people struggle with it.
Yeah, but it's also okay to be good at the game. Like, that's part of what a lot of people find rewarding. Do you
Magic
feel like
players are not good at Magic?
I mean, yes, but it's okay to be one. Like, we all think that we're better than we are, but it's okay to, like. It's also okay to, because you seem like a really good guy to play a game with. Quite frankly, I mean, it can be kind of aspirational to see somebody play a deck well, not do any of the degenerate things that make people angry on Reddit, and still win a good amount. Like, that doesn't have to be a takeaway. That doesn't have to be like a defeat for them. I think you're trying to share the love, but like you kind of do in the way that you play. It's not just about winning and losing in Commander at those levels. So. I'm trying to be positive about it.
No, sorry, did I come across negative?
No. I'm trying to put a good spin on. I try to say it's okay to win like that, and that might be me like defending where I come from, because I'm somebody who tried to play competitive and devoted a huge chunk of my life to this game. So I have a huge advantage sitting down with anybody who hasn't played for a while. And there are people who have like come at me pretty hard that I need to let other people win. It's like, no. It's still a game. I'm going to play to win, but I'm not going to like, there's a difference between like spiking power level. That's what the brackets are trying to change, right? That's what the brackets are supposed to be for, so that we're not playing decks that are completely overpowering, and that's why we're winning. There's a difference between like playing with the same skill, like the same tools, and building your deck away and do the thing.
Yeah, CGV, but I think you kind of fell into a trap again.
Oh, did I? What is it?
You classified the brackets yet again as a power bracket again.
Ooh, good point. Okay.
Right? It's not a power bracket. It's an intent bracket.
Yeah. But intent to build to power is kind of how you end up at a heuristic study.
It's true.
Over
it is
a synergy
similar.
piece, right?
Yeah. No. It is similar, right? That's kind of the tricky thing about all of this, is that it kind of like ties all together. Power does matter, absolutely, right? Like, and realistically, a level 2 deck will always be worse than a level 4 deck. But yeah. No, like basically what I was kind of like saying there is that last week when I went to play at like the local Magic club at the uni, which is where I go on Wednesdays, I played 3 games against a bunch of like people that I, had played a couple of times before, but like I just won all 3 games, and it's just kind of one of those things where I'm like, guys, kill me. But yeah, and I'm not trying to brag here, but
I've been there.
One observation, and I don't know if this will make people upset, but I think it's nice to end with something controversial, maybe.
Oh, yeah. We got to get them to the end. Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's end with something controversial. I come from a game, Dota, which is digital, and kind of like as a result has much stricter rules. And it's also a competitive game. And that, again, kind of creates stricter rules as to how to play it. And something I've noticed is that the average Dota player is way, way better at Dota than the average Commander player is at Magic. Mm-hmm. And I have talked to some other content creators about this. And I feel like maybe yours is a bit different because you do a lot of best of one and you've got more competitive people there. But Commander players, on average, are really bad at Commander.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's really interesting, and that's fine. It's not a problem, right? Because like it's a casual game. Like, of course you're gonna be bad at the casual game because like who gives a shit about it? But people don't realize this. Like I pulled this comparison when I was still making Dota content, right? I talked about this a bit on my stream. It was like when I'm making, I'm a Dota video and I'm playing a hero, and I build an item that, I build an item. I might get bad advice. I might get advice from a player who's just like, I don't think you should have built Satanic. I think you should have built a BKB. And don't worry about what it is. These are basically both defensive items. And they're kind of loosely, you can make an argument for one over the other. There's probably a correct choice there, but you can make an argument over one or the other. But when I'm playing Magic, or when I have made some or when I talk to people about Magic, sometimes I will get advice and opinions that are just like, no, you shouldn't have built a BKB. You should have bought a third pair of boots and destroyed all of the other items that you had in your inventory, which is like so far off a winning strategy. It is so far into the opposite direction. This doesn't even make sense. What are you talking about? This is not even remotely usable advice.
Yes, all opinions on the internet will be shared, especially about Magic cards. It's very true. It's very true. You can find just about any evaluation of a card online, and it does in Commander. It goes really deep. It goes absolutely crazy, and it blows my mind when I build a deck on a stream and I have people watching spamming the cards they want, and they will say a card name they will say such and such card name because it goes in every deck, and I'm like, it does? Like, why? These are not they're not saying put a complete piece of the almighty brushwag in every deck, because obviously that's bad advice. It's like this simple evaluation of they like what the card does, so they perceive it as powerful. The latest example I have of this that was really good, that stuck with me as just I can see how this happened, but man, is it not evaluating things the way.
The best example of this is Sol Ring, where people are like, oh, it just gives you a little bit of a lead. Sorry.
Oh, you think it's Sol Ring? That's controversial. That's controversial. No, have you made a whole video about Sol Ring yet? You just got to go with it.
No, I just keep bringing it up here and there. Why would I waste all of the engagement on a single video? Come on.
I guess you're really good at this. You do know your stuff. I'm trying to pull something up and this website's not even loading. It's freaking out. It's like your computer's working too hard. I'll find it.
Okay, well, you figure that out really quick. I want to make a case for me playing the Soul game, the Sold game.
The what
Because
game?
you said I know too much about Commander to play the Sold game. Yes, and I think that would make it interesting. You have people on there that don't know anything about Commander. Of course they're going to get it wrong.
That's what
about
they
somebody who actually plays Commander? Are they still going to get it wrong?
I hope
so.
so.
Because I think I will. I think I will still fuck it up. And I don't have an excuse. Isn't that going to make it way more funny?
Let me know in the comments if you want. Should you join the Salt game? You want to compete for the golden salt shaker or whatever trophy I'm going to get here?
I want to give a shout out to Ivan Yesta for my stream, because I've been saying for a long time that all I want is for people to ask me questions about card games and then to ask me how good a certain card is while I know nothing about the game. That shit is so fun. I love the videos you make about that. They are so cool. I love them so much. All I want in my life is for somebody to ask me questions about that.
You know Magic cards though now. You know Magic cards now. I can't. That's the only game I know.
That's okay. That's fine. I will just pretend I don't know them. Actually, I don't know much about the 1v1 formats. That's why I said, can a Commander player figure out weird 1v1 format cards?
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Maybe.
But
so how long? You said you played for 2 years, right?
Really quick. I need to give my shout out. My shout out to Ivan, who every once in a while shows up in my chat and is just like, here's a card. How good is it? Oh my God. Thank you, Ivan. It's the only opportunity I get for this.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I don't know. We'll have to talk, because you've only played for a few years. There's probably 27,000 cards in Magic. I bet we can surprise you here and there. So
I think you could. And I would love it.
Yeah, I think we can. So I have a card here. This is what somebody sent me. You probably know that. You might know this card. It's from Duskmorn. You know
Yes,
Razorkin Needlehead. Okay.
Yes.
So somebody said, like, this is just a chatter. I'm just building a deck. I'm trying to remember what the exact synergy was. It had red in it. I think it was like a vehicle deck or something. And they say Razorkin Needlehead because it goes in every deck. Okay. You're not like, and this is my thing. Good card. Good card. Decks that it definitely goes in. Torbrand, Valgavoth. Like there are Obnixilis. Like there are good homes for the card. Every deck, you just like what the card does. You like telling the opponent you take one when you draw a card. Objectively, the best for the spot? Absolutely not. Thematically, the best for the spot? Absolutely not. You played the card and you liked what happened after you played the card. People get so attached to this because it's their, like, Commander is nothing like Arena or competitive formats from back in the day where you grind, you play over and over, you memorize the matchups, you memorize the sideboard plans, you memorize all the cards relevant in the format, to the point that if somebody plays a card I haven't played against in 2 months, I'm like, what's going on with this person? What the hell is this? Commander is totally different. Like you play 1 or 2 games a week. If on one of those games you had a turn 2 Razorkin Needlehead, and at the end of the game, you and your friends were sitting there like, oh my God, dude, that dealt like 50 damage. It's the reason so-and-so lost. You're like...
Really interesting question.
Bust.
How many games of Commander do you play a week?
Me? Personally? Usually 1.
Really?
Yeah.
I play like probably 10 to 15.
That is amazing. I'm so jealous. I'm gonna, dude. I have to make an I'm retiring video. I got to do this. I got to play 10 Commander games a week. That would be awesome.
I have at least 2 evenings a week dedicated to Commander, like my Wednesday, my Friday. On top of that, I will usually, or like frequently, let's say frequently, arrange like an extra day with my friends. And then I also play a bunch of games on MTG Online to just test stuff.
Oh, okay, so you
and
also play on
occasionally I will
MTGO.
stream and play with people from my stream. So I play a ton of Commander, like
nice,
all the time.
Oh,
probably
dude.
every day. I try to play a game every day. Yeah,
dude, it sounds really good. Like I really
MTGO
like this idea.
Don't play on MTGO. It is so bad.
I can't,
MTGO
honestly,
is the
I
best
can't imagine.
software. MTGO is the best software if what you're looking for is to take a 30-minute experience and stretch it across 2.5 hours. Because the UI will just slow you down so much.
Some would say my yapping on YouTube is also good for that. You can listen to this and play a game of Commander on MTGO, and you can wonder where your time went. It's a good deal,
oh my
right?
God, we went so long.
You have the gift of gab. I love it. No, this is fun. I'm having a good time. This was good.
Yeah, I am a talker. I did a podcast with with Trinket Mage and his crew, the Magic Mirror podcast. And we went for nearly 2 hours, and they cut out more than half of it.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how the editing's going to work out, but I do plan to make. I thrive on watch time, as I like to let people know. I doubt I can cut that much time out because I want to get paid, baby.
The best performing videos on my old channel were always the ones where I just played a custom game for 3 hours.
Damn.
I did those like once a couple of weeks, where I just sat down. I'm like, we're playing this one game for 3 hours. I'm going to click record once. We're just going to play it for 3 hours. And that's the video. And those videos always did the best by far. So I honestly, I'm a big believer in YouTube. There's like kind of free ranges. You can be like super short, super brief.
Yep.
You can be like 15 to 20 minutes, like maybe a little shorter, maybe a little longer. I wouldn't go longer than 20, something in that range. I guess I would also say that there is a 45-minute sweet spot that does also exist. And then we're going straight to 3 hours. You had it straight to 3 hours. You're going for maximum watch time there. So I'm glad that we've gone all the way.
Yeah,
this is perfect.
That'll be lots of content on the channel. So, but we keep teasing people who are enduring and like, God, please let it end. Please let it end. I want to make it to the end, but I'm sick of you. So we're gonna let it end.
Goodbye.
Bye.